Alright, so now we're gonna be live, but no one's gonna see us. Oh, and actually right now they're hearing us, so let's mute us real quick. Alright, so now you're unmuted.
Yo.
Now I'm unmuted. But we're still invisible.
Hello, time zone people.
What's up, time zone losers? We don't do time zone stuff here. Let me play a little song, dude, because I think about this guy when I think about you. And I don't know if I don't know if I've talked to you about this guy.
Oh, you think about this guy when you think of me?
Yeah, when I think of
I think you were talking about to the you of the internet.
No, you, Cesar, not the internet. What's up, internet? Hi, internet. You still can't see us, but we're experimenting with audio. How's our audio? If anyone's in chat, saw Dave was in chat. Mikey's gonna publish his first Substack post. That's fucking dope. But I think you might have like dropped out or something. Peachy way. And Peachy way. Tell us what the audio sounds like. Please.
Yeah. If you could hear Nance well, can you hear me well? Is it a good balance? Good enough balance?
Good enough.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to settle for good enough.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was stoked. Well, you know what? So this is Pat the Bunny. I think we did talk about Pat the Bunny a little bit.
I don't know this project of his, but and honestly I haven't really heard much of his music. But when I was a lot more involved in music in Phoenix, I know that some people would be sharing the bill with his band Ramshackle Glory.
Ramshackle Glory was dope, dude. And Wingnut Dishwashers Union.
I only know the Ramshackle one because I think that was just my time of
that's
when
right.
I heard about this guy.
Pat Schweenis is the guy's name, and he was a musical mastermind, and then he quit making music, and now he lives in the fucking woods in like Prescott or something, and farms vegetables and meditates.
Yeah.
But I love Pat the Bunny, and fucking I always associate Pat the Bunny with you, especially because you were like in the folk punk scene. So I'm gonna stop playing the music. Kim, what's cracking? We can hear you. It's echoing a little. Okay, is it bad? Is it bearable? Should I do something about it? Or are we good, dude? Let me know.
Remind me to bring up folk punk when we talk about my intellectual journey up until today.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it'll play a part. It's not something I was in necessarily, but it was a catalyst for me seeing something that people were doing.
So shit. Yeah, that mic is picking me up. But
yo.
okay, Kadim says it's okay for him. You know what, Kadim? I trust your judgment.
Should I move it closer?
We could move it a little closer to you, and I could turn the gain down a little bit. And I'll try to be cognizant of my positioning and my gain. And I will try to not get overexcited and start yelling. I tend to yell. Hold on.
Okay. This might be as close as I can get it without it like
Being wonky.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Dude, look, this is my office. This is my house. I got my homie here at my house in my office who we've spent a lot of time on the internet reading and having conversations and kind of working and collaborating. We met up one time at the Tempe Public Library to read some Levinas. And then we met up. I'm going to sit like this. And then we met up again in Boise last weekend for TUCON. And now we're back, and now we're at my house in the suburbs. I asked Cesar to come to my house, and he graciously did. And I told him, look, man, I'm busy. I have too much going on. I'm also disorganized. I can't pay attention to anything, but I want to collaborate. And he's like, word. I'll make the trek out there. And hopefully this is just kind of like a initial symbolic exchange. Maybe I'll go out to where you are. I do hope we meet up again at a library or a park or something and do shit like that. The public readings.
The weather has finally got nice for us.
Yeah.
We don't have fall here, but we get something like nice weather.
Yeah, and it is nice, but most people would probably say it's hot. But it's nice.
Yeah.
Like, what is it today? Like in the 80s?
No, it's like
70s?
low 70s.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It is.
It's like human weather.
Look, dude, you can see. Oh, shit.
Hmm?
Why?
Okay. It was capturing it a bit.
Hold on, I'm still not done. What's up, Elliot? Will the Theory Underground group allow a conversation on flat Earth? You know what, dude? If you can convince me that it wouldn't be a total waste of time, I would love to conversate about that with you.
I took a class on it was actually one of my favorite classes, just called like the philosophy of science. And we did spend a large proportion of time on the sun theory of things. So starting with Kepler or Copernicus, I forget who's first. You know, Copernicus.
I think it was Copernicus.
And then maybe Kepler talks about like rotating bodies, like around celestial bodies. And then you get Galileo to kind of like put in the final nail. But there's so many interesting things of like what people actually knew, and like not everyone believed that there was just a dome Earth, even in like ancient times. Like they kind of had an idea of like, you know, actually there is something like parallax distortion of your eyes and like what actually is being shown in the celestial bodies. So it's interesting then that we're maybe in a time where flat Earth
making a resurgence.
A resurgence, maybe. I think it's more that we're always, what's the marketing term? Someone turns 18 every day. Have you ever heard that one? In other words, there's always someone new on the planet who doesn't come ready-made with all this knowledge. We never come ready-made with things. So it's interesting that there's always maybe going to be a portion of the population who has a different view of what breakthroughs or what common knowledge there is. I don't know. Flat Earth is an interesting one to think over, perhaps, but maybe it's not that interesting. I don't know. I don't know those people.
I had a homie who was a flat earther, and he was also a fundamentalist, like splinter sect of some fundamentalist Christian religion. But he was a good friend of mine. And he fascinated me, and we used to talk about all kinds of stuff. And when I talked to him about it, I believe it wasn't a waste of time. But we had like a human connection. We had a human reason to be having a conversation in the first place. So, I mean, Elliot, yeah, like if you were my homie, sure, I would entertain that. Or if you made like a compelling case for why it's not a waste of time. Sure, of course. I mean, I would talk about probably almost anything. I don't want to say anything because I do think there are some things I would just be like, yeah, man, I'm not going to talk about that.
I think I'm open to talking about anything, but I'm context always matters for me.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, okay, internet, hi. It's a little hectic. It's a little frantic. Once again, we are joined. Well, I'm Nance, right? Hi. Some of you know me, some of you don't. And how did you get here if you don't know me? I don't know. You probably saw like a link somewhere and we're like, what? But anyway, this is Nance. This is 3 Billion Nances, and this is another entry into the series of TUCON postgame conversations that we're having. Cesar, as I was kind of rambling earlier, he's the road dog. He's the homie from my hometown. We met up before. We've collaborated before. In Boise, he was a huge part of TUCON and making, hey, hear what's happening.
I just want to confirm to people that even though there's a trickery of the internet, that we are indeed in person, and we could do a toast. I caught it.
Here, I'll go to your camera. You want to trade places? You want to run the battleship?
Nah, because we're gonna like mess up some wires, and then
Okay.
the audio is gonna cut out, and we're not gonna know it for 30 minutes.
Okay. Well, if you want to take over, feel free. I might actually go take a nap. I'm tired. I've been doing.
Well, I just kind of monologue for 2 hours.
Yeah, dude, go for it. You know what's up. You know what's going on. But yeah, so we're back. The boys are back in town. The girls are back in town. The non-specifieds are back in town.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been kind of working my way through TUCON, trying to come to terms with it, trying to process it. I mean, there's huge stuff. I had a fantabulous conversation with Kier the other night. And then the day after that, I streamed Will's talk from the Human Futures Room, How to Live After the Singularity. And that was a really good talk. I like Will. I like his approach to fiction. I think he's got a great fiction mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to work with him on that. But yeah, we've been meaning to link back up. We still have to finish Levinas when that course starts back up. I need to hit up Christopher Putnam. I haven't forgot about you, dude.
Chris, what's up?
We're gonna continue the worm to human exegetical groups.
Forgot that's what it ended up being called.
Yeah. Because
a lot of worm metaphors.
Where did that come from? I don't know. But yeah, so we'll get to that, Christopher. But yeah, there's so much to do. But Cesar was one of our hosts. Cesar was a big part of TUCON being such a great success. And I just wanted to go over it with you, reflect, bounce some things off you, ask you how you're feeling. When I got home, I was all emotional and shit, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I still am, a bit emotional. And it's weird. I think there's like a part of me. I'm just old and getting sappy. That's all it is. But how are you?
I am good. Yeah, maybe also mixed feelings, which is kind of nice. But part of that's just in my personal life, and then also, I don't know. It's strange to have a newness of of weather, because really it does we are out of our winter depression, our desert winter. We could actually go outside and not die, and that changes how the city functions. We're gonna get a lot more people. I think I've already noticed it fluctuating into the Phoenix metropolitan area for the next few months from the Midwest areas.
Our winter visitors.
Yeah. So that also changes. It changes the environment that we're in. So that's just also mixed feelings perhaps, but mostly good mixed feelings.
Feelings.
Good weather.
So,
and then TUCON, yeah, that part is it feels like something concrete has been set. And I think that maybe that's, I don't know, we could start to talk about that, like how concreteness has started in, well, so far it's really been you and Dave and Anne traveling to other people's cities, which actually, oh.
No, continue.
Okay.
I'm just gonna grab the book.
Okay.
Continue.
Cool. It's different. It's different when you go on a tour, and you're visiting other people's places. You're you're kind of acting as like, I don't know, this interesting entity that is only there for a moment and then you're out. And you do like make the bonds with people, probably at least one person in every city. But there is something different about, we all congregated for several days, and a lot of us chose to be there more intentionally. Like, there was a lot of purpose, I think, built into the actual meeting of each other. Which is to say that the times that we were also just hanging out with each other, I think were important as well. But it is also nice to have the project itself have a way of like socializing with each other. That's what's maybe interesting about it.
Yeah, man, the humans. In Brussels, we kind of broached the subject of this, like, embodiment. And there were a contingent of people who were there who were very into celebrating their bodies. And that's cool. But I think we take a more cerebral approach, maybe, or a more bookish approach even, to what we're doing. I mean, there's definitely an embodied element to it. Swole was giving his seminar, The Dialectics of Health and Fitness, and I think that's fucking huge. I think that's super duper important. We have to be able to, you got to maintain the battleship, right? Like, you have to take care of your body, healthy mind. You can't
happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, but healthy body, healthy mind is actually like real and not problematic. But sure, happy wife, happy life.
If your wife is your body.
Sure, or her body. So what
is your life?
What am I doing? But no, like I like, there's just a distance from the body. And for
specifically philosophy projects, I think that's something important that we should remember, is that we do lots of projects with different people in our lives. But philosophy and theory, thinking, writing, and reading historically have not been always embodied. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, because there is a tradition of reading out loud to your peers in more religious settings. But we don't really, we still have those, right? People do exegesis of the Bible.
Do they though? Like, how common is that? Is it common enough?
I think it probably is, but it's like we have so many other books as well, is what I'm, I guess, trying to say. And there's a lot of things to think through in our time that a lot of people of the past didn't have to think through. So why do it alone?
Why do it alone?
Yeah.
Right. And kind of the currents and tendencies. I hate that I use that so often. That catchphrase, currents and tendencies. But no, like the currents and tendencies of the situation material conditions, people are like hyper individuated. Everything is individuated. Everything is turned into this individual, like, you are the type of person who X, you are the type of person for whom X is true. And there's like this diffusion of identity and vocation and specialization, and like just this like insane orgasmic explosion of the future. We're in the future. We're in the high-tech world where anything can be true and is true. And so we have like the theory scene, and you have people who are presenting themselves as the experts. Like, I'm the ultimate expert on Heidegger. I am the ultimate expert on Nicholas Luhmann. I'm the ultimate expert on niche thing. And maybe they are, but a lot of the time they're not. They're just people who kind of latched onto it and are good at like convincing an audience that they are the thing that they're saying they are. And so like a lot of people you just work, and then you spend what little downtime you have, what little free time you have, what little leisure time. It's not real leisure, but like what gets called leisure time, you spend it consuming content. We don't even read books anymore, largely. We consume content. Like, I want to know more about, Guy Debord. So I could either read Guy Debord. Hell nah, bruh. I'm going to watch a YouTube video. I'm going to watch a video essay about the Society of the Spectacle. I don't got time to be reading books.
Well, and it's also that energy expenditure of,
for sure,
I had to think while I'm
for
reading,
sure.
while I'm reading the Society of the Spectacle.
I'm just trying to post up. I'm not trying to do all that. And a lot of people can't. Like,
yeah.
Like when you work yourself into this fucking stupor where you're no good for anything but your body. You're no good for labor. You're no good for moving object A to location B over and over and over again. This is all gone. And so you get home and you're a zombie, and you're just like, I just want to vegetate. And yeah, fuck it. People deserve to just vegetate. Like, I used to be this type of like leftist who was like, you're not doing enough. You're a part of the problem. Fucking shame on you, you bitch ass. Like, and that's horrible. Like, that's super fucking horrible, dude. That itself is the fucking problem. What we should be doing is like compassionately coming to people and being like, well, what can you do? The poster behind you, that we can kind of maybe almost see on the video. It says, you can do it. Build what you can with what you have from where you are. My dad bought me that poster several years ago. So I've never had a great relationship with my dad. And in fact, still don't think of him as a father. But I think of him as like a dude, that I can fuck with a little bit, but we're still not like, there's no father-son relationship there. But it is the case that 8 years ago or so, I was really low. And now he didn't come when I needed him. He came after it was already too late. And I had to get out of jail. And I had to get sober. And I had to like scrape myself up off the sidewalk. And it does tend to be the case that it works that way for most people most of the time anyway. You have to do it for yourself. Other people can't do it for you. Oh, if we lived in a world where other people did have the resources to do it for you. But anyway, I was, I guess, kind of rebounding from like this really low spot. And my dad bought me that poster kind of as a joke because it's kind of silly and cringe. But like, no, dude, fuck, you can do it. Build what you can with what you have from where you are. Like, yeah, like we should take that approach to all our projects, whatever they are. Now, does it have to be some broad political project? No, maybe it can just be getting sober or getting your head on straight, getting out of your destructive habits, stopping eating ice cream and Twinkies bars.
Yeah,
Snickers bars.
Twinkies bars.
Snickers bars. Stop just eating junk food and being a passive consumer. Actually get up and get out and do something with your life.
Go
for
make that
yourself.
Twinkie.
Go make the Twinkie. Instead of buying the Twinkie at the store, make a Twinkie, bitch. It'll taste better. But no, we should have this more compassionate approach to people and kind of recognizing their lack. And instead of being like, oh, the problem is you, we should be like, whoa, look at the problem. Is there anything we can do together? Like, how can we approach this pro-socially? How can we approach this constructively? And it doesn't really matter, like individual level interpersonal beliefs. I don't give a shit if you're racist. I don't give a shit if you're homophobic. I don't give a shit if you're, I really don't. Like, it's not real. It doesn't matter. Most people, even most people who are these like, people that have these fucked up beliefs, they don't act on that shit. And those beliefs are just kind of like protective, and it's just kind of like the thing that one does, because you got to get in where you fit in, man. Like, we're all atomized, we're all hyper individuated, and nobody knows what's going on. There are no adults in the room, and we're all just scared children trying to pretend that we're not scared. And so people kind of latch on to shit like this, and it is what it is. So that whole like, fuck you, I'm better than you, that sucks. But I was that guy. Like, when I was younger, I definitely was that guy. And I do want to talk about that. But first, I want to reflect on TUCON, man. How was it before that? Yeah. Have you had experience at a conference like that? No, well, not like that, because I don't think conferences would be like that. But have you had experience at conferences?
Yes, but not in an academic sense, mostly. I don't know, maybe like it's kind of hard to say, because conferences could be lots of different things depending on, maybe it's part of your job, maybe it's part of, if you are part of university. Yeah, the only like academic conference I went to, it was actually based around what do you call it? Like, I guess esotericism and occult stuff.
Ooh, sick, dude.
So it was academic, yeah, for sure. But then also there was just like lots of like pub conversations where it's just like, okay, people just be people. And like,
people just be peopling, man.
But anyways, I wasn't involved in anything academically. I kind of just did it because I'm a nerd.
Okay.
Yeah. And bitch ass nerd.
Sorry. I'm a nerd too, dude. I'm a nerd too. See all my Legos and my fucking Dungeons and Dragons shit? I'm a nerd too.
Yeah, games and Karl Marx.
Yeah, dude, it doesn't make sense.
Man cave. I got a nerd alert.
Yeah, dude. Like 20. Like, I got Mega. I got the collected works of Marx and Engels. I got Das Kapital. I got a bunch of theory books. I got 3 giant dictionaries. Got a bunch of theory books, and then I got Legos and D&D and all my camera shit down there. And then that bottom shelf, that's the CDT shelf, the critical doxology shelf. So that's all the popular doxology, the Yuval Noah Harari, the Michael Shermer. Yeah, that's that, because we take that shit seriously. Yeah. But it doesn't belong on the same shelf with Marx and Foucault and Baudrillard and Heidegger and Levinas. It's
bottom shelf material.
It's bottom shelf. Yeah. But I cut you off. I'm sorry. Continue.
Oh yeah, experience with conferences. So what this felt like to me was less like an academic conference and more of like a conference based around shared projects or like shared dialogue, which I think I would distinguish that from something like academic conference, because you're not necessarily always trying to have a shared dialogue in academia. It's maybe just like you're saying your piece, and then maybe you connect with people after the fact. Um, but I don't know. There's just a lot. There's different pressures when you're in university and what it means to present something. What is at stake when you present something? Versus here, no one had any stake of, as far as I know, of like, oh, this is gonna make or break my tenure, or
What tenure?
exactly. It's like
We don't got no stinking tenure.
no one was giving a presentation. Everyone was giving a presentation of their obsession, which is kind of different, right?
For sure.
So I don't know. Maybe you could kind of compare this to like I've heard of some friends going to like UFO conferences, like alien.
Fuck yeah, dude! I love UFOs. I love UFOs.
But I've also have a history of putting together shows. In music stuff in Phoenix.
Yeah, dude.
And like touring around kind of DIY style. And so all of that made sense to me of like, oh, we're in this room and we're talking, but we're also socializing outside of it in my past experiences of like, oh, this is the people you're like crashing with later on tonight. So maybe you're like eating food before the event or after,
or just not for the day,
or not eating food. Sleep deprivation is definitely part of touring and traveling and being an obsessive. I think like half of the people, if not more, who showed up to TUCON do have experience with like music scenes as well. So I think it made sense to them. So that's something maybe to reflect on, is how a lot of us have come from similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
Similar social backgrounds, I guess.
No, it is a bit striking to meet up with so many other people that I have so many things in common with. Because we all want to believe like, oh, I'm the unique special snowflake, right? There's nobody like me on planet Earth. But then come to find out, what, like, once you actually become productively engaged in a project that is like a genuine project, you're not the unique special snowflake. You're not just like everybody else, because we are all kind of singularities and we need to honor that. But also, like, I'm not the only punk rocker who thinks he's smart. You know, I'm not the only former anarchist turned some kind of Marxist, turned some kind of burnout left, malcontent, whatever, who actually takes this stuff seriously. So it's cool, but it is a little strange to be reminded. I'm not special. You're not special. Together we can be special and we can do something special. But not if you just like stay in isolation and continue to like build up the wall and try to like reify the, oh, I'm such a cool special person. So it is interesting.
Yeah, I would say my perspective on that is, I think ultimately, from a lot of the interviews I did with people about, you know, the underground milieu, is a lot of people in their daily lives don't have anyone to talk about this stuff with. We are very isolated in our obsession. It's actually just maybe it's just because of pure numbers of how many people live in our city of Phoenix that I could find you, that it makes sense that there would at least be two of us in this city of 8 million. But it kind of proves like how it is hard to have these conversations with anybody in our daily lives. And that was something that came up over and over. Like, I don't think everyone wanted more friends who were involved in theory or who they could talk about this stuff with. And we had to just go to the internet to find each other.
Yeah.
And so I would still say we are, out of all the other snowflakes in the world, we are still like weird mutated snowflakes made out of acid rain, like reindeer poop kind of snowflakes, you know?
I'm going to go shut my front door.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Keep them entertained.
Okay, let me see, has there been a question just yet? I don't want to be kind of nice to...
That's the chat. Let me pop this out and we can kind of...
Will Theory Underground Group...
That was a flat earth guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got Kadem, Kier.
So I could go off on something Kadem said in his interview.
Fuck yeah.
About friendship.
I'm listening. I'm just to shut the door.
Yeah. So, what's up, Kadem? I remember one of the big things that I took away from the interview I did with you about what this thing is of the milieu is you really emphasize that friendship is something you want out of this, out of being involved in Theory Underground or talking with people in a theory, some kind of theory online space. And you were saying this is the way that a milieu can actually sustain itself, is by knowing each other's histories, knowing each other's backgrounds. And like that's basically where the sustaining will have to come from, because you mentioned that, like, yeah, you might get like actually useful people in a university setting who can help you, like actual mentors who have thought through these things. But that tends to be a professional type of relationship that you have. Whereas with contemporaries and with people who are also wanting to think through these things, wanting to feel through these things, I think there may be, I think I agree with you, there will have to be something of a little bit more commitment to working with each other. But that's I don't know, that's a thing that I know Dave has also been like working through, is there's the parasocial tendency that the internet tends to have, especially something like YouTube, where you typically are we're the main presenters right now, right? Main talkers, and there's people in the chat, but obviously that is a unbalanced, we get to say what we want to say mostly, and that's what people are going to hear. So there is something about like this parasocial aspect of the internet and perhaps doing theory with each other. So then it's figuring out what are the different relationships that can be cultivated, because it might not always be friendship that we have with each other. It could be people we refer to as like colleagues.
Sure.
Or people that like we disagree with, but we feel like we constructively disagree with. Like they're almost like a catalyst for us.
Or a foil, right?
A foil.
Or
exactly.
a kind of, they provide a structure for like a dialectic unfolding, right? Yeah, dude, I like that. So that was in your interview that you did with Kenem.
Yeah.
For interviewing the underground. I didn't see that.
I don't have these videos posted up yet.
Okay.
These are a bunch of things I did and then couldn't really figure out how to get all of them edited in the way I needed to beforehand.
I dropped the ball. We were gonna hopefully meet up before TUCON, and I dropped the ball on that.
Well, things happen in your life.
Sorry. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. Everything sucks. It's my fault. But no, that's
you've been reduced from friend to colleague.
Oh, I don't have any friends. Dave just broke up with me last night too. I can't remember what happened. Oh, it's because I like Sam Cedar. No, that wasn't it. I ruined something. Oh, I ruined his opportunity to get Adolph Reed on the channel because my uncritical, unfettered, enthusiastic support of Rachel Dolezal. Now Adolph Reed won't talk to us. No, that's not true. That didn't happen. But it did come up in our 3-hour podcast episode last night that we did. That felt really good. It was actually kind of cathartic. We were goofy and silly. But it was very thick, man. We were talking about this functional illiteracy, the functional illiterate and or illiterati. We couldn't decide if we wanted to be the illiterati or the illiterate. Illiteratariat. Fuck it. I don't know, man. But that was cool. Go check out the Theory Underground. Well, I don't even know which fucking podcast it is. It's one of the ones. But yeah, friendship, man. So I do want to sit with that because I'm. What are friends, dude? Mm-hmm. You know, like I'm in my at this point late 30s. I have so much shit to do. I'm like engaged in the things that I'm engaged in, and I'm struggling in the areas that I'm struggling, right? Like it is what it is, but I'm deep into my life. What are friends? What does a friend look like? My best friends, who's probably my older brother, and that's, I don't know if that's like cheesy and corny to say, but legitimately, like I think he's my best friend. I haven't spoken to him at this point since like maybe spring, like March, April. Like legit just haven't spoken with him because he's been busy. I've been busy. We go through our ups and downs. Sometimes our cycles match. A lot of the time they don't because he's a busy guy. We were trying to do the small business thing, and that was just too difficult. So but he's still, he's got a lot of responsibilities at his job. And I have a lot of exploding pieces that I'm trying to hold together in some way and force into some shape. But no, like I do consider him my best friend, and we never talk. And I consider you a friend, and we've talked, yeah, but not a lot. I consider Dave and Mikey really good friends of mine, and we talk, but also like we don't talk as much as I don't know, but it's like there is a loneliness to all this, and I think it's easy to do this kind of ressentiment where we say, and I know I do, I retreat from the body, I run away from it, and I think friendship and the body are kind of they rhyme, right? It's a song, it's a harmony, it's a melody. You're talking about embodiment, being comfortable in the body, enjoying the body, indulging in the body, and you're also talking about indulging in friendship, indulging in these more human, soft and squishy things. Love. I want to indulge in love. But we always find a way not to do that. We always find a reason. Well, Jesus Christ, I have books to read. I have papers to write. I have things to do. I have all these things to do. I can't make the time. Rudy, I was just talking to Rudy a little bit ago. I was like, dude, I love you. I hope you're well. I've been thinking about you. Yeah. But I haven't talked to you. We did message a little bit back and forth finally, but it's like I told him, like, you're always here with me in spirit, even though I don't go out of my way to let you know that I'm thinking about you, that I care about you. And then I am always a phone call or a text message away. And I think for me, it's just easier to think that that's implicit in all my relations with people. Because first of all, it is. Like I'm down for the cause, Like if I can be of use or of help or whatever, I'm there. But I just don't make the time to do the human thing. And I think that is like a kind of ressentiment. Like it's a little painful. It's a little scary. it's a little frightening to be friends with someone or to love someone. And it's also it's easier to, like, rather than indulge in kind of the joys of the body, it's easier to just be the bookish nerd and like, no, I'm not gonna go and hang out and party. And even though I'm sober, I can still hang out at parties and have fun. But no, I'd rather stay home and read or write or think. Halloween the other night, I was in here all night. And first of all, dude, I hate holidays.
Yeah.
Holidays make
What is society, dude? Down with society.
No, it's just I want to celebrate because I want to celebrate.
Yeah.
Not because someone's telling us to celebrate. And I think that's probably pretty juvenile and silly to like revolt against like the big other in that way and be like, you're telling me to be happy? I'm going to be sad. Like, that's fucking stupid. But it's true. It's a true thing about me. But rather than sitting around with the people that came over and like hanging out and having fun or whatever, I was in here and I did have things to do, and I actually did complete some work that I needed to complete and blah blah blah. But also I could have put that off, and I could have gone out and like really engaged for 2 hours instead of just sitting there and eating dinner for 30 minutes and then coming back in here. And I think yeah, that's bitch shit, dude. I need to be less of a bitch when it comes to that. And Karem, that's dope that you're kind of challenging us to have the courage to love, have the courage to be friends. But we also don't want to turn this into the social club, because I don't want to sit around and like be friends with people all the time. You know,
well, it's getting to a point where we are finding enough people, and you can't be friends with everyone equally.
For sure.
Each relationship's gonna have its own unique character to it.
Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes you don't need to talk to your best friends
For sure.
all the time.
For sure.
Like, you can kind of just pick up things again when it's been such a long gap.
For sure.
Whereas other people, if you don't actually engage with them, there is that kind of chance of, I think we've gone on different trails now.
Yeah, we've grown apart.
Yeah. And I think that's something you experience only after living through enough cycles of people being in your life and then people being out of your life. And then, sometimes people returning back to your life.
Dude, I got some dudes hitting me up right now. And if you guys see this, I'm not that guy, dude. I'm not the guy you're looking for. You know what I'm saying? But it is weird when people try to be like re-enter, and it's like, do you want it? Like, you remember what we used to get up to, dude? I'm not trying to fuck that guy, dude.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'll call him eventually.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Actually, no, that's not true. Stub, I am gonna hit you up, man. I miss you, dude. That's my homie from way the fuck back in the day.
What was your name? Shakes?
Shaky.
Shaky.
Yeah, dude, Shaky and Stub. But anyway, so you're not coming into TUCON green.
No, I don't feel green.
Experience. Yeah.
Yeah, all of this feels like I've done it, just in a different context. Yeah,
for sure. And it was very evident. Like, we talked a little bit at the venue. There was a few times that I felt like I just made eye contact with you, and you kind of knew what I needed or what I wanted. And like, we had this kind of level of implicit understanding, and I was like, hey, can we this? And you're like, boom, got it. And that comes from just doing things, being part of things in the world. So that was definitely evident. When we went on the first tour, dude, when I started coming on YouTube videos, I felt super ill-equipped to like talk to people, and I still feel super ill-equipped to talk to people. But I hit the groove or whatever. But yeah, it's it's good that it seemed to be the case that most people had a level of comfort that allowed everybody to perform really great. Everything I've seen, that's a lie. Not everything I've seen. And Dave knows the one I'm talking about, and I think Kier knows the one I'm talking about. But other than that one that I'm talking about, everything was phenomenal. And there's one that I'm sure it's great.
I mean,
I just can't.
You can't get 100%.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Honestly, here's something I just wanted to share an anecdote that Benjamin Studebaker shared with us in Dave's kitchen.
Yeah.
It was a few of us like talking, and Benjamin was referring to his time at Stanford teaching Thomas Hobbes, and how like
Stanford or Cambridge?
Cambridge.
Okay.
There you go. One of those schools.
It's all the same.
It's all the same
dude.
to me.
Like, yeah.
And so he was like, "Yeah, I've done that lecture so many times at this point that I know that some of them were great, some of them were just you know." And it's like, it's the act of kind of presenting, though, like multiple times, that you come to realize there is no such thing as the perfect presentation you can give. You only ever get like multiple trials of this is what this presentation took the character of this time. Now that being said, I bet Benjamin like got really great. Like, I think he was mentioning that now he could just conjure a lot of that stuff up from his head because he's like internalized the muscle memory of giving that lecture so many times. He knows how to like hit all his points that he needs to. I don't know, there's just like a power in realizing you're not going to get it 100% every time, but also you kind of get better the more you do it.
You do get better the more you do it, and repetition is a theme, not only from like a kind of critical media theory angle where we're talking about like repetition is a necessary element of like actuality and like actualizing things and bringing things out of the this virtual potential and actually like allowing things to become actual things in the world. Repetition is a tool that we can use to reify the concrete world around us, because we are in this like postmodern free fall of just blah, everything, nothing is real. And so
it's a fun time.
It can be fun. It can be very fun. But so repetition is a tool that we can use to kind of situate ourselves and give ourselves context and actualize this milieu that we're trying to actualize. But it's also this kind of human thing where it becomes like the thing that can be hard, that can be difficult, that can be scary. Well, if you just do it, and then if you just do it again, and then you just do it again, before you know it, you're actually halfway decent at it. And it can actually become an enjoyable thing. So the whole like... I don't know, there seems to be like a movement for comfort, for satisfaction, for people like, yeah, well, Jesus, here again talks about like self-care and self-love and like just like be happy, make yourself happy, and then that'll make the world a better place. Like people approach like child rearing in that way, people approach like career development in that way and education in that way, where it's like, well, if it doesn't work for you, it's okay. Maybe you're going to be better at something else. And it's like, no, dude, sometimes you have to suck. You have to suck. You have to be the fool. You have to be the blubbering idiot in order to get better at it, because you have to do it. It's a thing that you have to do. You cannot, like, you just can't not do the things. We've gotten away from doing the unpleasant things. And and that's part of structural stultification. So we have a time energy lack that doesn't allow us to read and think and communicate and spiritually develop. But we also have this form of stultification that's like institutional retardation. you may be struggling to do this thing, so rather than give you an opportunity to become good at this thing, we're going to take away your opportunity to ever be good at this thing and just and put you somewhere else. So now you're hindered. Now you have had potential taken away from you because that's just the thing to do. We want to make sure everybody's happy and healthy and comfortable. Well, dude, the world is not a comfortable place. And we live in a world that it can be functionally, proximally, and for the most part, we can have a comfortable world because we're here at the core, the imperial core. So I have a comfy beanbag chair, and I have a camera and a microphone and a desk and a computer and snacks in my kitchen, and we just had some tea, and I have a comfortable couch, and like we have all these things.
Yeah.
So I can kind of like, I can be a soft, squishy amoeba of a piece of shit loser who doesn't have any skills because I got lucky and I was born in America rather than fucking Ghana or Guatemala. So it is true that we do live in this comfortable world with soft edges, rounded corners and pink fucking paint on the walls. But that's not the real world. Like, the real world is the totality, the 9 billion people living on this planet who largely, for the most part, are all suffering.
The bad kind of suffering.
The bad kind of suffering. Yeah. So there's a good kind of suffering, and there's also like an inescapable, necessary kind of suffering. And I think that's something that I would like to someday really sit with.
Which I thought about during Daniel Gardner's lecture on the last day, I believe. And I feel like someone else brought it up too. But I've been focusing on words like suffering and tragedy was one. It was sociology, tragic sociology. I think that's what Daniel brought up. And it's not despair necessarily. Yeah. It's more of decisions need to be made and trade-offs will always happen.
Trade-offs will always happen. And that contrast, that tragic thing allows the beautiful thing to emerge.
Yeah.
And the contrast allows us to see it, right?
Yeah. So I've been thinking if I have a political project, it's to bring about the good kinds of tragedies in the world instead of the banal not sexy tragedies.
Now,
let's go for sexy tragedies.
Now, I'm with that, but also I think that can become a slippery slope, and we can start to do like this resentment where we say like, let's celebrate tragedy. Just because something is necessary, just because something can be constructed. I can't find my notes from Daniel's talk, but yeah, his tragic shit's dope with the trade-offs. Just because we can't get out of it doesn't mean we should accelerate it or we should pursue it. I think.
You bringing up the idea of comfort shows that we actually have been able to curb off some tragedies.
For sure.
That's the thing is that
relatively for us.
Yeah. And so it's like perhaps we're not even fully aware yet of like what are the potentials of the tragedies that don't actually need to be around. Well, and so it's like an open question of what those tragedies, which ones can exist, which ones cannot exist.
Man.
It's fun to be open to that.
Let's automate and roboticize the world because I think labor is a tragedy. I think being reduced to labor is a tragedy, and I think that that's a type of tragedy that we can and should get rid of. But that doesn't mean that like effort is bad.
Yeah.
Like effort is good. Friction, contact, even conflict can be very good. But again, just because things can be constructive and can be productive and can build Bildung, right? The German is like coming into self or whatever. Like,
I thought you were saying build dung.
Build a dung. Yeah. Build a poo castle instead of a sand castle. But like, just because it can be an ingredient and it can be a magic ingredient also doesn't mean we should seek to accelerate it. There are people who do that, and I think they're also wrong. So people that retreat from it entirely, you're you're hurting yourself.
Mhm.
You're retarding your development as a human subject. But then there's the people who fully lean into it, guys like Gigi Allen. I just recorded the introduction to Underground Theory
Yeah.
for Audible. It's a great introduction. And I forgot how much my piece on suicide was in response to Dave's introduction to that book.
Okay. Yeah, because that talks a lot about like musicians and the self-destructive lineage that so many musicians have towards brushing against the abyss.
Yeah, man. And yeah, leaning into it and going hard in the paint for no reason other than to just go hard. That's also missing the point. So we can be adults and we can say, well, we have to make some trade-offs. But the trade-offs itself and the content of those trade-offs, you can move whatever you need to move, dude.
I'm just
or we can move you to the comfy chair, or you can sit here. We can do whatever. I feel bad that you're in the corner. But I'm also stoked that you're here.
Just imagine like I'm stuck in an airplane. Like,
oh no!
I could do that. I could be stuck in an airplane for several hours.
You want to trade chairs? You want to sit in this one over there?
Actually, do you want to just go off for a bit while I go
restroom and stuff?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, for sure.
I go have a human moment.
For sure.
Let me move.
So you can move.
Yeah. But you should keep going about your
this fucking
and all why people get it wrong or
yeah, man.
Yeah.
People get it wrong. It becomes a form of like ressentiment itself, where people are like, well, since we, it's same thing happens with alienation and exploitation, and blah 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 blah. But just because the sky is blue does not mean necessarily blue is good and virtuous. I don't know, maybe it is, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Anyway, people watching YouTube, how are you? It's nice to be back with you all once again. I will be back tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening with another special guest. And we'll be going over, I'm doubling up. I got to be over here. I got to be quieter. I think you can still hear me. If I'm over here and I just talk a little quieter, you should be able to still hear me, and I won't be picked up on Cesar's mic. But anyway, hello internet. Let me get on my my NPR voice. Do I have a compressor running right now? I think I might. So even though I'm talking quieter, it doesn't sound as quiet as I'm talking. Anyway, I'll be back again tomorrow with another one of our TUCON MC hosts, and we'll be going over some stuff. And then I haven't nailed down the last one. What's up, Dave? Dude, what is it? Dave's gonna be like, dude, your shit's fucked. Your audio's fucked. You sound like a chipmunk or whatever. That'd be actually funny, dude. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow evening. And then hopefully by the end of next week, I'll finish up with the hosts, and then we can actually bring on some more of the presenters. Maybe we can bring some other people back on. We can have some returning guests, and all the things and all the wonderful things. But yeah, it'll be cool. I don't know. What do you guys think about the camera setup we got going on? I do feel bad. Cesar is in the corner, and he's on a little pinchy. I used to be anti-holiday too. Dave says, yeah. I'm very much ham, and I know it's stupid and like it's juvenile and immature, but leftists are the shock troops of capital. Yes, indeed, they are. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm digging. I could have just had my camera wide, and we could have used one microphone, and we could have had like, it could have been more comfortable.
This is fine.
I was stoked about having a dual camera setup, and I was like, well, that's really the only other place, because I have to plug the camera in to the computer, I could have put you over in front of the bookshelf, but then you would have been like directly behind me.
Yeah, this is probably the best scenario
I think it is.
because we could actually look at
Make
each
eye
other.
contact, yeah.
Whereas if we were side by side, we'd just be staring at
We would be
ourselves.
looking, yeah, dude.
Yeah, which you have to do necessarily as like
Sucks, dude.
monitoring, but you're also like looking at me, and
No,
so
I'm
that's
digging
important.
it, dude. Like the embodied kind of conversation discourse. It's cool.
yeah, nonverbal language is not more important, but it's like it's such a missing part of video calls. Like it, I don't know, you you feel less satisfied. I feel less satisfied with video calls all the time.
Dude, I like on tour and at TUCON, like you get fucking you get amped, like just being with people, and like I've managed to like hack my brain or my system or whatever into a way where I can get satisfaction out of doing our 17-hour live streams. Like I do love when we just fucking go. But it is definitely different. There's a huge qualitative jump from the embodied relationship, and it is that back and forth. It is the fact that like so much of what exists is in this space, this physical, actual space that's between us. Yeah, I'm fucking whoa, dude. But no, it's awesome, and it's awesome that we're able to fucking meet up in person and do that. I hope that when we do start back up with the worm to human exegetical sessions, we'll be able to do at least a few more in person and have Christopher come on via Zoom.
That'd be kind of cool to try to do it with Christopher, with us still in person. Yeah, and it's like that nice hybrid.
That would change the dynamic too, because then that would be a hybrid thing where so hopefully we can make that work. But we're talking about. I mean, we were talking about kind of tragedy and trade-offs, and that's great. But then I started talking about, I guess more like the medium. So I do want to ask you to reflect like specifically on TUCON. Like, so first, before I ask questions, like, what do you feel? Do you feel the need to just like say anything about it? Like, what, I guess, like, what's on the tip of your tongue? And when I say we just did TUCON, what's the first thing that kind of wants to present itself?
That I almost want to say something to the effect of we did it. like it got done, you know. There's another part of me that wants to say like we resisted the tendency of staying online. And then there's another part of me that wants to say I don't know, those who were there, I don't know, we probably don't need to say much because we felt like there was something kind of communicated, not so verbally, that you kind of just felt being in the same room and people being, wanting to be around each other. Really, to me, I guess why I want to be involved in this space, and I think why a lot of other people want to be involved in it, is because there is a chance to actually meet up with each other. And I don't really see that with almost any other platform or group. There are maybe people who are kind of doing it, but it's less of a thing that is intentionally built into what's kind of being presented here, is actually wanting to meet up. And to me, honestly, it's like at this point, I just want to only meet up with people in person.
For sure.
If I have to meet with them digitally, that's just because we live in a time where like that's just a gift that we have. But I don't want to make that the primary way that I actually do things with people.
Yeah.
And that's where it could get tricky. We get stuck in making and staying that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that make it happen so that it would be easier to stay that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to work with people who want to take the risk of being uncomfortable with each other in person, because I think that uncomfortableness might actually it might actually present us with something unique that we don't always know at the beginning of when we're making the decision.
That makes me think of Cadell's reflections. We spent a good week and a half with Cadell on the EU UK tour in Paris and Belgium, or Paris and in France and in Belgium and in the UK. So we were in 3 cities with Cadell, and it was, I don't know, 10 or 11 days or whatever together. But he was he was like evangelizing on the, not in a bad way. No, anyway, but he
I'm
was
just
like,
doing prayer hands.
Yeah.
I'm putting the emoji into real life.
He like the conflict that comes out of these spaces, because on the internet, if I'm a dickhead or a douchebag, you can fucking leave. Or if I think you suck, I can fucking leave. Or if there's like, for whatever reason, if there's a breakdown in the communication or a breakdown in whatever it is we're trying to do, when we're on the internet, we could just leave. But in real life, you can't. And in real life,
well, you can, but it has a different quality.
It's different. It changes. The medium changes and the meaning changes, because leaving on the internet doesn't really mean anything. I can just close the video. I can be busy and like not watching, or I can be like, yeah, fucking whatever, dude. Heard it all before, and like stop watching it. But like, it doesn't mean anything to leave on the internet, but it does mean something to leave in person. Like if you just left right now, if you just got your shit and left, I would be like, whoa, what did I do, dude? So it has that meaning, but when you stick through it and when you're like committed to overcoming that conflict, problem, whatever it is, like it does add something more. It is generative to whatever is happening, just to the relationship. Like if it is just a friendship, like your friendship becomes stronger for putting up with the annoying shit your friend does or whatever. Or maybe they smell bad and you're like, hey, you smell bad, you should go put on deodorant. Then you just did him a favor. And then that was like some kind of small symbolic act that enriched the friendship. Or if it's work, or if it's, we're writing together, we're reading together, like whatever it is, when you stick it out and kind of commit through the problems, it enriches the phenomenon of that relationship. And if that relationship is just a relationship for the sake of relationship, cool. We should be doing that too. As Karim told us earlier, we should be doing that. It's not that we should only be doing that, but we should also not shy away from that. We should not retreat from that. We should be aware of the fact that it is a huge thing. Like the pleasure and the joy and the love that I get out of being with Dave and Ann. Like I shouldn't deny that. I should be like, I actually do enjoy hanging out, and spending time together. Like I'm not just here to do theory. I'm also here because I am having fun. Oh my God, I'm having fun. What's happening? The world is ending. I'm having fun. I'm allowing myself to have fun. You shouldn't run away from that. But yeah, I mean, and you can get it on the internet and you can kind of hack your mainframe and you can go into working online with all this in mind and still like maintain a commitment to what you're doing. But the embodied space does change it. It does enrich it. It does multiply it. It does accelerate it. And that's why it is the shit. And yeah, I that's dope. So
yeah, maybe just to put an exclamation on your point, the difference between online disagreement and in-person disagreement. Something that came up in Rudy's interview that I did with Rudy was he's actually had to been involved in like in-person conflicts with people, more in like a political setting. But he pointed out that on the internet, it is very easy to exaggerate yourself.
yeah.
And to also have conflict in this very distant way, where you can distance yourself
Mm-hmm.
quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have to exclude someone in person,
Yeah.
or do something of that sort, that does something to all who are involved.
Yep.
There is a phenomenology of what we experience when something like that happens in person.
Yeah, dude.
It has a different character. I don't want to say it has anything better as like a feeling necessarily, but we are creatures of biology, you know, and like our history. So we can't really escape a lot of those things. We still feel those things, what it means to be rejected.
Yeah, dude.
Or to have conflict in person. Yeah, having conflict on the internet is new. So it just has a different feeling to it, necessarily.
We are, I mean, the internet, 30 years old, like the internet as we know it.
Well, I don't know. Kind of,
yeah.
Because even in the 90s, people were still
yeah.
like, this is just like Wild Wild West still.
Yeah.
People were like, I'm not gonna put my credit card information on the internet.
Yeah, dude.
Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you start to see like the big websites start to take over, like
pets.com, Amazon.
Well, like YouTube started in 2005.
Yeah, dude.
Just imagine that. Like,
yeah.
I remember watching videos before YouTube. Like, I had to go to other websites.
Yeah, dude. Like the internet pre-YouTube.
Yeah.
And now YouTube is just.
It is the internet.
It is the internet. Yeah. It's such a huge part of our life world.
Yeah.
But so I guess the potential for online communication as it is today is probably 30-ish years old, like chat rooms, like bulletin boards and shit like that. Like that was a thing. But like once chat rooms kind of got up and running, like we've all had some type of relation to chatting online. So that's 30-ish years old, and that's still new. Like we're still coming to terms with it. We still don't know how it like affects us. So yeah, we should maybe not take it for granted as much, and like put some thought into it. Like we're all seem to be doing. Like ask the questions. Well, how does physical and body relationship change the online communication, and how does conflict? How is that handled online versus how is it handled in real life? And that's critical media theory. It's huge. So that's why I love doing critical media theory, because it is asking questions about like the human subject and our relation to the media environment.
But anyways, I think you were about to maybe change the subject. It kind of seemed like that, but I like brought in this last point.
Yeah, I think so. I wanted to ask, I guess just like any standout moments from the presentations you hosted. 2 days worth of talks. You were in the Theorizing the Underground room on day 1, and you were in the education room on day 2. I guess I just want to ask you about that. Like, what was your favorite presentation? If like, do you have anything that you want to respond to immediately, or are you planning to respond to anybody's talks or presentations or papers or whatever because of your perspective as the host?
I think the presentation that touched me the most personally was Kyler Murray's presentation.
Yeah, man.
Real heads will know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't give a fuck about Tyler Murphy.
But it was only me as the MC and Anne as an audience member.
Yeah.
And so it felt very intimate because, well, people will have to eventually see Tyler. It's Tyler Murphy, so you'll eventually have to see his presentation. I wish I could summarize it. Maybe I could do my best.
Do your best, please. Please do.
He's using the concept of Das Ding from psychoanalysis in relation to almost like a praxis that Tyler wants to have in his life, which is the way he put it, I think, was allowing the otherness of the other, or allowing oneself to speak oneself free, allowing, like, being able to speak freely to free oneself, something like that.
What's up, Benzer? What's cracking?
It's just that his presentation, he cared a lot about it. I could feel he was caring a lot about his words.
Yeah, man.
Because it was like he was using this concept, but he's telling a story of things in his life, of like how the storytelling event that he runs in Montana, and that now can has its own momentum where he doesn't run it necessarily. It's just emergent amongst a lot of different people, that it's brought about these really personal moments for him of wanting to remain open to the otherness of the other. Which is, so I guess this concept of Das Ding, he went over it in the presentation, but I'm not too familiar with it. It's something that Freud started off with, but then Lacan really latched onto, and it is kind of thought of as the well, I guess Das Ding means the thing.
Yep.
And it's kind of like this thing that
uncanny.
There's it's like
no
uncanniness, and it's like almost like a way for like the subject to almost like become a subject, I guess was another way to put it. I guess it's otherness, right? Otherness that you start to become aware of as a subject of, this is not me. Alien, yeah.
So I actually want to ask you, we've read some Levinas together. Initially, I think you were a little reluctant to get into Levinas. Maybe not reluctant, but a little, I don't know. You seemed very like timid. Like you always would qualify like, well, I'm not sure. Like I'm not sure but like, and that's good. Like maintaining like a methodological naivety, I think is good. And I think we should always strive to do that. We should always assume the position of the idiot, right? We should always subjugate ourselves to the master. And not in the doormat kind of way, but in this way of like, no, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a dumb fucking idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm earnestly reading this because I want to come. And so I'm not saying you sucked. I'm actually saying I appreciate the way you read Levinas. But I want to ask you like just about that. Like you've had some time now. Like, do you like this like alienness, otherness, das Ding? Do you like it or no?
I do, because I think it's something we all have to deal with. I don't think anyone can be outside of it. I mean, you could argue, I guess some people have such a, are in the psychotic register of existence that maybe they really can't register otherness. But most of us have some idea of otherness, of alienness, that we face probably every day, honestly.
For sure.
And I kind of want to say with maybe like a lot of with my caveat kind of talking, I think maybe a lot of it comes from my science background, or like I went to university in biology. And so a lot of the way science is communicated is you say what your assumptions are and you say where your caveats are. It's like constantly putting yourself in a lesser position like in order to
debasing yourself. Not in this way, like
you're trying to get to something
subject matter.
Yeah, you're trying to get to something like objectivity, even though you know that we're necessarily struggling to get to it.
Sure.
And so maybe that's why. Also, we're reading it for the first time, Totality and Infinity. So it's like, okay, this is a lot.
That shit goes
Not
hard,
really
dude.
sure.
That shit goes hard, dude.
Yeah. Lots of capital letters and lowercase letters of the same words.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of, okay, are we talking about the same thing? Are we not talking about the same thing?
Shut the door.
Yeah.
We're home now.
But
I requested not to be interrupted, so we're good.
Otherness. It's something Tyler in his presentation wanted to challenge himself to do, is to remain open to the otherness of the other.
Okay.
And I just thought that was so beautiful. I don't know. Just go watch Tyler's when it's like publicly available. Everyone will be able to see it.
Maybe I'll stream it. That'll be one that I stream here on this channel here coming up in the coming week or so.
Yeah. And I think I enjoyed it a lot because Tyler was not afraid to tell something personal about his life and how this concept actually changed him.
Yeah, dude.
And it's not to say that other people's presentations are lesser because of that. It was just more that Tyler thought I needed to take this risk in this way with my presentation. And I don't know, I'd like to hear if Anne remembers the talk as well, to see if like,
Anne,
do you also feel that? Like
Anne, you're not in the chat right now, but Cesar wants to know how you feel about Tyler's talk.
That's the other thing about being in person. It's like I felt the vibration of the air because it did feel like we were getting a little bit too close to to someone's story.
Ooh,
and it's like
yeah,
it makes you kind of hold your breath a little bit more.
Yeah, man. Those moments where the human threatens to break out can be terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's something I struggle with. The being comfortable with personalizing, because personalization.
You do it all the time, though. You're actually.
But I hate it.
I know.
I legitimately. I wish I wish I were able
to filter a little more.
Yeah, because I will be just like, I'll catch myself, and I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, like I'm not trying to say all that shit. Like I'm not like I want to.
You're speaking yourself free.
Yeah, but I don't want to be doing that because I think it tends to derail, and I know it tends to derail. I hate, like, I couldn't fucking stand people on YouTube. Hi, thanks, I apologize. I couldn't stand listening to me because I'm like a fucking, I'm like my dog. I'm just like boop 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 boop. So I think like that's one thing I want to be able to do is just be better at communicating, but I kind of like I freak out over like, well, should I make it personal or should I just try to completely make it objective? And there's no such thing as objectivity, but
yeah,
like should I try to keep this general and universal?
Yeah.
And yeah, dispassionate, kind of divest my identity, which I think is a necessary thing. 90% of communication, this type of communication. Now, interpersonal stuff, again, that's a different ball game. But when it comes to like talking and presenting for a general peer, I think 90% of the time it should be divested of identity. You should be approaching universality and generality. You shouldn't be dealing with particulars with singularities, because that muddies the message. It hinders understanding for the audience. And it's also like when you can do that, when you can step away from it, you might realize you're wrong. Like as the speaker, as someone saying the thing that's being said, if it's all about you and your identity, then you're probably wrong, because you are a snowflake. Now you're not a special snowflake, because snowflakes only become special when they're engaged in Congress with one another, when they're productively engaged. Snowflakes in isolation, fuck you, go melt.
Yeah.
But you are nevertheless a snowflake. And so the things that apply to specifically to you will not apply specifically to me or to your audience. And so you should seek to keep it depersonalized. But it can also be a powerful tool. You can use it as a framework, and if you can make it legible enough for a general audience to understand, then it can be a very powerful tool, and it can be a shortcut for understanding. Because I can say to you, rather than having to construct this symbolic, rather than having to construct this understanding for you, I can hijack a symbolic that you already have, that's already been constructed via your personal experience. I can use that to clarify my point. So if you can do it, do it. It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery fish. You'll have to watch my fucking podcast to know what slippery fish means. I'm going to write a book about slippery fish. You can't watch that podcast. That's my Substack podcast with its audio only. But that's where slippery fish comes from. But yeah, that's a difficult thing to do. I think we should not seek to do it. At least as a general rule. And I think when you do it, you should do it resolutely and triumphantly. And I'm just not trying to do all that all the time. Although, I mean, sometimes I do find myself choosing to rely on like a personal narrative, because it is just way easier than saying, well, give me 3 hours so I can explain to you the context and the situation and like the conditions and qualify everything. And then I can actually tell you what I'm trying to tell you. That may only take 10 minutes, but it's going to take 3 fucking hours to kind of build up the necessary shared ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's dope. I like Tyler a lot, man. Tyler's the fucking homie. I hope next time he doesn't have to leave early. I know he was actually bummed about having to leave early, and I was like, no, dude. He added a lot. Everybody added a lot, for the most part.
I don't think I experienced anyone being a goober. Me personally,
yeah.
Like,
for sure,
because that could have happened where it would have been like just a lot more obvious of like this person sticks out, like, and no one wants to like have to be the bad guy to be like leave early, take a flight early home.
Should we take a moment to congratulate ourselves for being cool people and being the types of people who attract other cool people?
Sure.
I do think that's worth doing because it's a constructed space, but it's also completed by the people that came. So it's completed by you, and it's completed by Tyler, and it's completed by Evan, and it's completed by Benjamin Studebaker, and all the people that came. They were part of it too, even if they didn't speak, even if they never planned to speak or never planned to write. Being there in the audience, and also being there on the online audience, when people can manage to constructively participate via the chat or via the comments or via emails on the back end after the fact, that's also an integral part of all that's going on. And yeah, for the most part, we're cool fucking people, and that's an accomplishment. And it's accomplishment. It's a noteworthy accomplishment. And there are goobers, there are wieners, there are fucking butt munchers, and we excise them. We very quickly will be like, you're killing it, dude. Fucking leave. You have to leave now. It's time for you to leave. And we can only do that because Dave and Ann have this approach and this mentality of like, this is what we're going to do. If someone is hijacking our space and turning it into like a wiener party for them, don't make it about you, dude. Don't fucking make it about you. And when people try to make it about themselves, we'll be like, peace out, homie. Maybe we'll email about it later.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll figure it out. You know, we're breaking this vase right now. Maybe we'll come around, sweep up the pieces, glue it back together, and it'll be one of those cool, the cool Japanese vases with the gold glue that sticks, and it'll actually be better. The relationship will be stronger because of that. But right now I'm breaking the motherfucker. Get the fuck out of here. You're fuck you. But no, for the most part, there were no goobers. There were no goobers in person, for sure.
Because it would have been obvious.
Yeah.
It would be too obvious when it's in person.
Yeah.
If like someone's killing the vibe.
Yeah.
And no one killed the vibe.
Yeah.
In person. Yeah. So, well, here's the thing. Here's something I thought about was perhaps everything went off without a hitch in that regard because this year it was like a pretty manageable size. But what happens, there's something that necessarily happens if you do get a lot more people in person. And that was one of my like waiting at the airport thoughts was like, oh, if another conference like this happens, and it's twice the size, how does that start to change things?
Yeah.
Which is hard to say because in some ways you kind of don't know until you just do it. But it is something to ponder over. Is like I think the size felt pretty good this time around.
Yeah. And it's only going to get bigger from here. But no, I have faith that we'll be all right. And we have a good core. We have a strong foundation, and we have a good core. So I think it'll be all right. And who knows? Maybe we'll get to have a fight sometime. Maybe somebody will come and blow up the spot.
Yeah, well,
and we'll fight them. We'll beat them up. It'll be cool.
If you guys want to fight, Nance and Jacob want to tag team you guys. So next year.
I don't want to, dude. But also, like, I mean, I will if I have to. But I don't want to. I'll hit you with my skateboard, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, my skateboard's in my car. I can't use it as a prop right now, but I'll hit you with my skate. There's my skateboard decks, and there's more decks.
Yeah. Get the toy machine on someone's head.
Yeah. I brought Dave a skateboard. So he can skateboard. Because skateboarding is good for you, and it's never too old to learn how to skateboard. And I think you should do it. I think everybody should skateboard.
That reminds me. I wanted to say something when you were talking about comforts and stultification and something. You said something maybe like being embarrassed about doing the work or like
effort. Yeah,
like
trying to hide the effort. I actually talk about that in my piece in Underground Theory as well. Like we become self-conscious of the effort that it takes us. Like when I fucking started doing YouTube videos, like I hid the microphone. I didn't want the mic to show.
Yeah.
And I was very worried about the camera angle and the lighting. And first of all, those are fucking garbage. Like to go back and watch them, it's like, damn, son. Like I've gotten better.
Okay.
And both the production and also like the content, like the form has improved. Like looks better, sounds better, all that. I've gotten better at that part. But also the content has improved too, because I've been spending more time like actually reading and actually doing it rather than just like starting out or trying to do it or whatever when I did.
Yeah.
But like with that or with skateboarding, like my skateboarding style, I don't want to turn this into a skateboarding nerd thing, but I'm gonna right now.
Yeah.
So my style of skateboarding, like it's very sketchy, and it's always been sketchy. And
it's sketchy in terms of you take high risk with your.
Yeah. So like NAR, like NGNAR NAR.
Yeah.
So in the 90s there was this movement. There was Heshers, like Heshers.
Not hashers.
Heshers. So Heshers were like just kind of shithead, like dirtbag metalhead guys. And then there was like NAR, and we were like fucking street punk, like gutter punks, and we were like fucking go hard. And then there was like more laid back, like hip hop style kids. And they were really about style, and they were really about looking good.
Backpack kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, I rocked a backpack.
I mean, like the hip hop backpack.
Yeah. But I mean, it also wasn't a 1-to-1. Like it was very diverse, and it was a melting pot.
Yeah.
But I was NAR. I was a NAR dude. I would go jump off the building. I would go fucking huck my body down the 17 stairs. I would do big shit, and it was gnarly. But it's also sketchy necessarily, because like you have to go fast. You have to jump high. You have to pop hard. You have to try hard. You can't just kind of ease your way into it and be stylish.
Yeah.
You have to put in the effort. But in skateboarding, it is important to look like it's easy. So even like me having like a more gnarly style, like I could go do a trick that was sick as fuck that I had fun doing, but like it wasn't ready to show people until I had practiced it for 6 months, and I could go do it and make sure that I did it with style. And when I ride out, I stand up nice and smooth, and my arms are in the right place, in the right position. And you don't want to show your effort, and we have that like just diffusely in society. People are ashamed of the effort. People are ashamed of how hard they work, because this PMC ideology of the deserving, the worthy, the ones with the right stuff, it covers over lack. It covers over stultification. It covers over the fact that we are functionally retarded because we've not been given the resources, the time, the space, and the grace to grow and develop. So the people that do have natural talent kind of rise to the top, and we just essentialize and naturalize and say they have the right stuff. Whereas the people who have to work hard for it, have to earn it, are ashamed of showing that effort. Or you do it the other way around, and you start to like going back to Cure once again, talking about like celebrating sacrifice, like your personal sacrifice. How hard are you working for this? How hard is it for you to be here, to be doing this thing? Like that becomes a badge of honor, and we wear our lack, another form of,
grind.
Yeah.
So, show your grind.
Just our weird relationship to effort, like it's just a part of life, dude. And we shouldn't seek to accelerate it and glorify it and romanticize it. We also shouldn't shy away from it and seek to hide it. We should just be like, this is what it took. This is what it cost me to be able to do this thing. And actually, that's so going back to holidays, because Dave was calling me a little bitch ass leftist.
Because
I don't fuck with holidays.
Yeah.
I like
holidays are hard.
Holidays are hard.
They're hard for lots of people.
Growing up, it was always a hardship on the family. Yeah. It was never.
It's either the best time or the worst time in everybody's life.
Yeah.
Throughout the year.
And so I have this resentment that it was always really hard.
Yeah.
There were fucking family arguments. There was, uncles and dads and grandpas just on drugs or in jail or getting fucked up or whatever. And there were women being abused. And it was just fucking sad.
Yeah.
All the time. And so I do resent people who have it easy on the holidays. And so it's not just me being a little bitch ass leftist, although I do admit to some of that. It is also this psychological thing in me that I resent the people that had it easy. But that's not a valid excuse. I'm a grown ass man. I should get over it, because that's a me problem. I should be able to just get over it and be like, I want to have fun. I want to engage in this moment with these people. But it's different. It's a different reason. Fuck you. But yeah, before I hijacked it, you were gonna start talking about effort and stultification.
Just that it's weird because I'm not a sports guy, really. I mean, nerd, right?
Nerd. Fucking nerds, dude.
But there is something I started to appreciate as I got older about people involved in.
Come here, Poopy.
We're just enjoying the dog. There's something that I started to appreciate about how people approach sports, and how so much of sports is about failure most of the time. Yeah, and dude, it's only success that happens. You're always trying for the success, but it doesn't always happen. And when you're training, you don't get that payoff either, because you're putting in the efforts of it. So it is a weird thing. Actually, at some point I want to think through some kind of philosophy of weightlifting, or
get with swole, dude.
Yeah, and well, I'm using kind of the main inspiration is that author Yukio Mishima. He has a essay book called Sun and Steel. It's kind of his later life stuff.
So is it nuts?
Or it is a little bit nut. It's kind of
what is it? Sun and Steel?
Sun and Steel. He's definitely drawing on a metaphor of the black sun, and so it does have this batai kind of I'm moving towards death. I'm realizing I'm moving towards death.
Yeah, he moved all the way there, dude. Look that motherfucker up, Mishima.
Yeah. But unfortunately, or whatever. People on YouTube, I noticed there are a few people who have done video essays on him, and they do tend to be kind of jacked dudes. And I'm somehow I don't like how they're approaching Mishima. And I don't know, I think there is something to working out your muscles as a metaphor. Oh, this is why I brought it up. because Mishima brings up a point of.
Oh, hold on, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. I shouldn't be checking it right now, but I'm gonna show you this. Don't tell the internet.
Okay.
Sorry.
Interesting.
That's funny, Mikey. We'll talk. We'll talk. We'll make a video about that, I'm sure, later. Anyway.
Mishima has a point of in his time of post World War II, having muscles is superfluous. It's unnecessary. It's like, why do we need them? We're not going out in the battlefield like just throwing spears anymore. We have guns now, right? Like you don't need. We'll take anybody who could just press a button. But it is a thing where it's like it is unnecessary, and yet.
But it's also sick.
It's also necessary, like to have a strong body, because we do see what you look like when you get older and you don't have a strong body when you didn't cultivate yourself.
Yeah, dude.
And then you look at the people who did cultivate themselves, and it's just a weird thing where I want to use this as a metaphor of we don't really know what the end results will be if we leave ourselves open to cultivation. I think Daniel Gardner brings that up a lot, is like we need the symbolic coordinates of just being able to imagine those things, have new coordination in order just to be able to be like, we have options. We have more options than just the limited options.
Yeah.
So out of all of that, just to say is like doing the training for skateboarding, like failing a lot.
Yep.
Someone who doesn't know skateboarding might just think why are you failing so many times
over and over and over and over and over again? Yeah,
because the success is actually just this little. Actually, it's 5%. Only what you see in the videos.
5% or less of skateboarding is.
And honestly,
success.
Even the videos leave in the failures so many times. Like that's kind of become a badge of honor.
Dude, scars. Look at my shins, dude. My shins are all crooked and scarred up and shit. Both like I got fucking scars all over my body from. I mean, not all of them are from skateboarding, but the ones from skateboarding, it absolutely is a badge of honor. And like if you go out and you eat shit and you get all bloody and you keep skating, then you fucking
having the nosebleed in your part.
You're extra cool, man.
Yeah.
You get them brownie points.
Yeah. You get the NAR points.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah, Mishima's fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah, it's a thing where you everyone has to take their own stance on him.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. I think he's cool as fuck, but also not.
Well, it's
not
like
someone to be idolized.
It's like he took Nietzsche's project very seriously.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like, but then it's like, okay, what can we? That is one version of a Nietzschean kind of project of like aesthetic beauty, aesthetic tragedy.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then you ask yourself, do I want that? Or like, what is going to be the consequence if I go down that route?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like a Bataille with Asafail. They, I don't know. I am pretty sure they never killed anybody.
It sounds like they didn't ever get around to it.
Yeah. But I mean, there are some people who swear that they did, but no, I mean, I've spent a lot of time looking because I'm an edgy dork and I like Bataille a lot. And I actually, the other day I was thinking like, you know, Mikey call himself a Zizekian and he might call himself a Lacanian sometimes. And Dave will sometimes call himself a Heideggerian or Levinasian. And I think we all at some point called ourselves Marxists. Maybe we still do. Sure. But I also think like there's a large part of me that would call myself a Bataillean.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about this because I've been thinking about Evan Wellington.
The oil talk.
Yeah. And it's not that I need to write about it. I need to respond to that, because going all the way back to the first conversation we had with him on tour, I've been feeling that Charlie, stop being a wiener.
Should I banish Charlie?
No, I mean, if you want to pet her, you can. But
I just think I'll end up keeping her.
That's cool too.
Keeping her.
But yeah, like anyway. I'm pretty sure Asafale never killed anybody. They wanted to have a willing sacrifice. Pretty sure they failed. Edgy dorks will say that they didn't, but if they would have succeeded in Asafale, like they would have like ritualistically like flayed somebody, you know, and like done that in
I thought it was just going to be a beheading. Hence the Asafale without head.
The headless god, yeah, but no, I'm pretty sure that he wanted to fucking go hard. But in the search of this limit experience, that is for Bataille a kind of beauty.
Yeah, the limit experience.
And it's interesting. If you are not a dork, you should read Bataille. If you're already a dork, maybe skip over Bataille, because I think Bataille plays really well, or plays really strongly to those like edgy, dorky tendencies. But I think there's a huge part of me that would call myself a Bataillean. Like, I think we need to take it seriously. And I always kind of come back to the solar anus, the churn, the conversion, waste, expenditure. I think Bataille is just as important as Baudrillard. Maybe not like exactly 1-to-1 just as, but if everybody sees the importance of Baudrillard, I think Bataille is right along with there. But
and Bataille is interesting because I mean, I was gonna kind of do originally a piece comparing Bataille's group of the College of Sociology that he started pre-World War II, and compare it to like what's kind of happening in Theory Underground and what maybe those milieus look like, you know, compare and contrast.
Yeah. Pretty tight.
Yeah, but I was just like, this is starting to not fit really like my interviews as neatly, so I'm just gonna put it off instead of trying to force it. But he did a lot of organizing, basically. Like, he was part of so many groups, and that College of Sociology one, he was basically like, we're gonna have people do lectures, and like that's what they were trying to make happen. So it did feel very similar, I think, to like kind of what Theory Underground is trying to do. Is like, we want to do lectures and we want to encourage other people to do lectures. Yep. But Bataille ended up doing like half of them because it's hard to get other people to get their stuff done, you know? And like, I know Jacques Lacan maybe attended a couple of them. Yeah. Walter Benjamin, I think, was at least involved in one, if not, he knew of that group though, and was in Paris at that time, I think. Yep. So it's like, yeah, people, he was doing stuff for like the intellectuals that we still talk about, right? So I think that's also important to note about, to give Bataille his credit. Is, for sure. He did bring people together. Like, that was a big part of his work, is like trying to work with people.
Yeah, and I think it sucks that Bataille on the internet is often just the edgy, dorky stuff. So I think that's dope. I hope you do find a way to do a Bataille project. I feel driven to do some type of Bataille project, but it won't be anytime soon. It'll definitely
it's on the back burner.
Take a while to get it done. But so I think I do want to talk about some less TUCON stuff and more actually like your specific project. But before we move on to that,
how are we on time, by the way? What's your time? You don't have anything to do, or
no?
Okay.
No.
Then
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm still good.
Okay.
Always good to check.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think probably maybe another hour, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I want you to kind of, I guess, maybe put a bow on TUCON before we move on. By like, what are you coming out of it with? Like, what are you taking with you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any momentum going into projects that you've been working on, or that you're starting anew, or just kind of any of that shit? I guess like a post game sit rep, like your situation. What are you taking out of it, or do you still need time to reflect? I think I largely still need to reflect on many things. Although, I mean, I'm obviously, this is coming directly out of TUCON as well. And
yeah. Reflecting. I think it's knowing that people are actually down to meet up in person.
Yeah.
So if I find myself in your town, I'm going to hit you up.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm not going to be afraid of hitting you up. And you better not skip out of town. No, you could choose whatever you want. But yeah, it's like being open to that, being open to, like trying to meet up with people in person when, if I end up coming to their town, like I was roomies with Sean Middlestate.
Yeah, dude.
Like that whole time we were at TUCON. And he lives in Portland. Evan Wellington also lives in Portland. So I imagine like the next time I'm there, I'm just gonna be like, oh yeah, just remember that they're there.
Hit him up, yeah.
Hit him up. Let's go talk for a long time about like the stuff we're working on. And I guess that's the thing is, everyone does have their things that they're working on specifically. So I'm not trying to rush necessarily into collaborations because we all are maybe need to finish up a lot of things we've started.
Yep.
But it's going to just make the opposite of that, Zoom calls feel better, I think, because in some ways I feel like I could be a little bit more open with people on Zoom calls, and maybe not be afraid to like challenge them on something that they say. I think there's a comfort level that's starting to happen. And something I'm gonna kind of tie up with the piece I'm writing for Theorizing the Underground anthology that I've gathered from everyone talking about this theory thing happening is that it's still very early to say if this is a milieu. I think a lot of people still feel it's a scene. And the way it's going to become more of a milieu is just through time. And you can't rush this kind of time. Like we had to see who sticks around, and we also had to see how we change. And so I think maybe my reflection is that TUCON was a great way to, in some ways, solidify time, to almost get time to like feel warped for our human needs. It's our human time. So that it does feel like we're maybe pushing towards a milieu faster.
For sure. Jacob in the chat says, does that comfort level make us more or less likely to push back on each other? I think it's more likely. I think it's more likely too.
Yeah.
Because you're not afraid to shatter the relationship.
Maybe.
It can withstand friction.
Okay.
You like I have a level of implicit trust with you now that like I'm not afraid to hurt your feelings. Essentially, it boils down to so much of kind of back and forth on the internet is eggshells. But now we've all been in the same place. We've smelled each other's body odor. We've shared meals.
Yeah, no one smelled bad that I was around. So.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, smells. But no, like the relationship can withstand a little bit of friction because there's always a little bit of friction, even though it was fucking great. And my only complaint is just not having had enough time.
Yeah.
With the people, but there's still friction nonetheless. But it can withstand that, and so I'm not afraid to hurt your feelings, and so I will be more likely to say I think you're wrong about that.
Yeah. I
think so. I think that fills it out more, Jacob. What do you think, Jacob? Answer. Do it now.
I kind of wish this is like a call-in podcast.
Yeah, dude.
Like if we just had like a hotline burner phone,
dude,
and it's just like Jacob could call in and like just like old radio style.
I could do that. That would be something interesting. Yeah. Or instead of using a burner, use Zoom. Ooh, maybe Google Meet, because I think maybe Zoom would be a little too clunky, but I bet Google Meet would be
something where you could still live stream and not have that interruption. Yeah.
That would be cool though. I want to do lol. You mean lol? What does that mean? I don't know what you mean. Does that comfort label make us more or less like push back on each other? I mean lol. Lol.
Also, I feel like
ha ha ha.
I feel like there should be a long German compound word that describes the anxiety of I need to hurry up and get this chat out before the topic switches.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. That's why most often I don't chat.
Yeah. I start something and then people are already moving on and I'm like
delete.
Backspace.
Yep. I just highlight and hit delete. It's quicker. Yeah, I think that's true. People can't cost me my friendship by disagreeing with me. Yeah, for sure. I agree with you, Jacob. I think and again, we can and have done tremendous things over the internet. But because we're doing things like going on tour and making brief connections with people in their cities and then having a conference in Boise where we're all together for several days and kind of building and enriching the relationships, I do think the organization will be more resilient. And that's dope because ultimately at the end of the day, there is an element of connection. There is an element of me wanting to escape a type of loneliness that I have found myself in. And that's part of it too. Shouldn't retreat from it. Also shouldn't turn everything into that. That's a part of it. So that's dope.
It's okay to have friends.
It's okay to have friends
who are not into theory.
It's okay to have. It's hard though. Well, that's hard, and I would prefer friends who are into theory.
Well, I guess I should say we are always going to have someone in our lives, specifically family. Like that's like the most obvious, who are not gonna be thinking about this stuff in the same way. There is though a way to still something I talked about with there's actually this guy named Javier Rivera. He lives in Tucson.
That's the Tucson homie?
Yeah. But he does a lot of his own like thinking on YouTube. But I interviewed him for like part of this because I wanted to get like an out of theory underground perspective, but someone who still knows about
what's up.
Like kind of in the same talking spaces.
Yeah.
And something he brought up he talks about a lot of like what it means to talk with his partner about these things, because she'll often feel intimidated by like, I feel like I need to say something, like have a response to you because you're so inquisitive. And
sometimes you don't.
And that's the thing is he was like, I've kind of come to learn that I don't actually need to theorize with people in my daily life. Instead, what it could be is a sharing. You are sharing something that you that feels important to you.
Sure.
And you try to do it in the Mikey method.
Sure.
Right? Because ultimately then you leave people open with you give them an open hand as opposed to a closed hand.
Yeah.
Of what you're trying to say.
Yeah, dude, I think that's huge. I think there's so many of us that us broadly, right? Internet people, theory people, obsessives who really struggle to not be the motor mouth, the know-it-all. And that can be very difficult. It can be very taxing on interpersonal relationships. And it is important. Don't blow up the spot. Don't scare the hoes. And look, I'm not calling anyone a hoe. I apologize. I don't like the fact that I say scaring the hoes because I know hoes is a bad word and it's probably offensive. But it's a phrase. It means don't scare the hoes. It means don't fucking be weird. Don't blow up the spot. Yeah. Don't be that guy. Don't be the motor mouth. Don't be the fucking know-it-all. Don't be the smelly dork. I've been the smelly dork. I can talk shit about the smelly dork because I'm not talking about anybody out there. I'm not talking about you, internet. I'm talking about past me. Talking about me back in the day when I was a little booger-eating dork and I scared people away. Don't fucking be that guy. Be cool. Be a cool guy to be around. For sure. I think that's important. Social skills, right?
Yeah.
We're losing social skills because we're all kind of like endemic native fucking creatures of the internet and we forgot how to communicate with people. So that's
I was gonna say some of the best reminders of how to like remain open to these social skills with other people is honestly it's just been learning about like psychoanalysis.
For sure.
Yeah, it's been kind of I think Mikey also brought this up too of like it's actually taught him to be more compassionate to people because when we realize we all have a way of dealing with things, then if you can remember that and like taking the Levinas aspect of it too, if you can remain open to the otherness that is so alien to you and see that you kind of share something. Well, you know, we talked about a lot about how for Lacan it's like lack that we probably share. But for Levinas it's something else like the metaphysical other that we always surplus. The metaphysical selves of our that we all share. The point is that you can see that we share something. People, there is a way to see that we can share something even if our content is not the same. And when you remain open to that, that I think that is a compassionate project. For me, that's a compassion project and something I want to always challenge myself because I know it's hard for me to do.
For sure,
so because I know it's hard, that means it's worth doing in some sense. Fixing something?
I'm Jacob said don't be Slipknot Jacob. And that's hilarious, dude, because
Slipknot?
Yeah. Don't be Slipknot Jacob. And I'm assuming, like, I'm imagining that there was a Slipknot Jacob where Jacob was a Slipknot fan and wore the merch, wore the shirt, wore the clown masks, and was just very like that guy.
I said Slipknot.
Slipknot. Yeah, don't do that either because that sounds not good. I don't know what that is, but that sounds not good. It's a
psychoanalytic Slipknot. Yeah, don't do that.
Dude, I hate Slipknot. I fucking hate Slipknot, dude. I fucking hate Slipknot.
You hate Slipknot?
I fucking hate Slipknot. And I hate Slipknot dorks. We used to go to metal shows and get in fights.
You went to the show just to get in fights?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like we would there wasn't the greatest hardcore scene in Phoenix. I mean, it is kind of like the scene. It's just kind of like the scene, and there's like different there's different sides of it.
I would imagine there was a lot of Southern California, like
a lot of
cross pollination,
a lot of LA shit. And so we actually used to go to LA shows a lot. Like we would drive to fucking Hollywood, 4-hour, 5-hour drive, whatever. Go to a show for a weekend.
4 hours, damn, that's impressive.
But like there was what's the name of the band? I dated a girl, and the dude, she loved him, and I can say this now. I know it now. I was jealous.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, that guy's a toxic piece of shit. Because I was all this like radical punk rocker. And they were like dirtbag metalheads. And I was like, oh, those guys are toxic. You shouldn't spend time with those guys. But really, I was just insecure and jealous. But she loved them. And so like she wanted to go to their shows. And so I wound up going to the shows. And so my homies wound up going to the shows. And we would just fight metalheads. And sometimes we'd get the shit kicked out of us, and sometimes we'd kick the shit out of them. But you know, that's kind of a form of communication for like angry, disgruntled youth who don't really have anything else going for them. Is that type of violence, and we're losing that. Kids don't even go out.
We're losing gang culture.
We are, dude. We are. Kids don't go outside and steal and vandalize. They don't do drugs. They don't have premarital sex. They don't do anything. They shoot schools up, and they bully each other on the internet.
Well, it's this.
Yeah, but the
on
answer,
the couch next to each other.
The answer isn't in kind of alarmist reaction. The answer is in rebuilding a type of word that's worthy of our children to go back out into. So
yeah,
let's build them playgrounds, and let's like compassionately bring them out into the world and kind of love them rather than like hate them and just blame them and resent them for everything, because they're fucking kids. They don't know better. We're the adults. We're supposed to be the ones who are.
We know that we don't know.
There we go. We know that we don't know it, and they don't. They think
they actually know.
The world that they have been born into, that they've been kind of raised up in, and that they've been habituated into, is a world in which you are supposed to know. And everything, the world ended, but also the world is yours. Like it's this cognitive dissonance where like climate change, climate anxiety, world war, Donald Trump is a fascist, Kamala Harris is also a fascist. It's the end of the world. Civil War is coming. World War III, World War 27. We're dead. We're doomed. We're fucked. We're all dead. But also at the same time, the world is yours, and you can be anything you want to be. Hustle, grind, driponomics, flip that shit. Like, it's this incongruency. And kids don't understand kids don't understand that, like, we have to work through this contradiction.
That there's actually more than those two options.
Right. And we force it upon them, and we blame them. And we sit around and like, yeah, that's fucked up, dude. You know, and I have kids, and I try my best, and I fail, and we have some small successes, and it is what it is, but that's Pure talks about that, and it's dope. She read some article about like rebuilding a playground in Winnipeg. Which, I don't know what Winnipeg is, dude. Is that a town?
It's a place.
Well, I know it's a place, but like it's Winnipeg. Is that like Mordor? Like
I wouldn't know which province of Canada it is, but it's not. I don't think it's the coastal big ones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a province, like a state?
Not a state, more of like a territory, region, yeah.
But that's like
it's like the southwest of the states would be a province, or northeast New England.
Are there states inside provinces?
I don't know.
Because motherfuckers will be like,
I know there's cities inside the provinces. Because you'd say Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So that'd be the whole like.
So like Phoenix, Arizona, USA.
Yeah, basically.
Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Oh yes, we go to Canada.
Yeah, it maybe would be like saying like Boston, New England, United States.
Gotcha.
You're talking about a larger region.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's crazy. But fuck metalheads, fuck Slipknot, fuck you, Jacob. Not fuck you, Jacob. You're dope. You're coming on tomorrow. We're gonna have a conversation. It's gonna be sick. I'm actually gonna go to the restroom.
Okay.
and then we can transition into talking about some anarchist shit. So if you're a smelly Marxist, you're no longer welcome. We're gonna fucking talk about Kropotkin and a stateless society.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. No offense to any Canadians. I mean all the offense, dude. To speak for yourself. I am intentionally trying to offend them. No, I'm not. Canada's cool. Never been there. Want to go. I'm gonna go pee.
Yeah.
You can riff if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna start a little bit of lead you all through a little bit of Cesar's intellectual choose your own adventure.
Fuck yeah.
And I'll start off by saying I come from, well, actually no, I'll wait till Nance gets back for that one. Which, let's see. Maybe we'll start, I have this book. Don't know if that will focus. Yeah, it might not focus. But this book's called Desert. It's a book written by an anonymous anarchist for anarchists. And it essentially talks about what an anarchist approach to the coming climate changes that'll happen in places around the world. So this kind of ties in a lot of things of how I've led into this, my philosophical standpoint, perhaps I guess like a political standpoint as well right now, of things related to climate,
Want another tea?
anarchism, sure.
Yeah.
Also about remaining open to context and complexity of the world. So, how did I kind of get there? Well, I first started. Here's a book example of Thomas Merton. Damn, these are not gonna. Okay, that's good enough. But yeah, Thomas Merton. He was a priest, or he was at least a monk. Like throughout the 20th century. A lot of people like referencing him, even people who are not really into Christianity either. But all of this to say is that I have a Catholic background. That's like where my family comes from. And I think that's like some of the first theoretical rigor that I can remember. Theory and praxis. Maybe that's a way we could say it. But it's a thing where it's not necessarily a political praxis. It's more of a, here's a theory of almost like metaphysics, of ethics, of phenomenology, and here's the praxis for getting to those things. So, yeah, I just kind of bring up this book, not because it's like a touchstone for me, but just to say that's kind of like my first background with being a thinking person. So then I mean, another big thing was that my mother took me to the library as a kid, and also like one of my favorite activities growing up was going to the Borders bookstore, all the way on the, you know, expensive side of town. We'd go there almost like once a week or once every 2 weeks. And it was a great place for me to like learn a lot about music. So I was like getting into just learning about music, kind of starting from like punk music as like my chosen identity of how I was identifying with music for the first time. But really it was from there I got to see like the references that all the interesting punk bands would have. And then of course punk music has a politics that it associates with very explicitly. So I think I was also getting ideas of like history from that, political standpoints, maybe a little bit of philosophy. I don't know. Can't really think of too much of that. All that to say, going to Borders, getting like a new CD, and also getting like new books and like being a reader. So then went to university here in Phoenix, well, technically Tempe. And I went into the realm of like a new program called sustainability, regarding like environmental sustainability. For whatever reason, you had to have like a high amount of mathematics prerequisites, and I don't know, I couldn't pass the pre-calculus class for whatever reason, so didn't end up doing that, but went into biology instead with the focus on what was it called? It was called biology and society. So it allowed you to do humanities classes related to science, like philosophy, history, and ethics. So those were some really great classes to be involved in. I also really enjoyed my religion 101 class, which is like, you don't always get that with just like the basic level like course that you get at university as being like an important one. But I was just like, whoa, I'm enjoying diving into this. It's like, it's almost like sci-fi in a way. Like you get to kind of just nerd out on like this new universe and like, oh, here, this is what the characters are. This is like how they interact with each other. But all of that to say, whoa. That's a lot of stuff.
That's all right. That's all shit that I should have done something with.
Yeah, the question of like climate change and environments and energy limits, that stuff has kind of just always been around, especially growing up in a desert.
You don't want to lose the natural beauty of the world. With climate change, this shit's going bye-bye.
Well, that stuff will stay around.
Well, yeah,
but like around. The water that you don't see,
that'll go away.
Yeah.
What else will go away? That.
Oh yeah, lower levels of that.
Yeah. Climate change sucks.
But well, that's something I want to kind of bring up, is that there was lots of different perspectives people had when I was at university regarding what the approach should be for how to address climate change. So you have maybe, let's say, it's the conservation approach of, we need to like set more boundaries on the natural world that we still have in America specifically. And like,
I'm not showing you my fucking
like a lot of regulation, basically, a lot of planning. And then there's maybe another school of thought that's like, well, there's already a lot of invasive species that like have been in places for so long, they've become the new native species. What does it mean if we could just accept that this is the new environment and still work with it somehow? And then there's like a few other perspectives and things that I learned throughout that time. But I kind of want to bring that up with like the latest things I've been into, which is it's almost kind of like a bit of science fiction. Well, like this one is definitely more science fiction. We won't get the this book's Bolo Bolo. It's actually kind of like a little mixture of like some Marxist stuff, but like anarchist stuff, but also kind of like I don't know. It's sci-fi in a lot of ways. It's basically.
Would you call it theory fiction?
I guess so. It is a little bit like theory fiction. But that's also paired with something like this. This book is called Retro Suburbia, and it's a big ass book, actually written by. It's a permaculture book.
Okay.
Permaculture being the idea that you're trying to create your homestead or your neighborhood.
Yep.
To be constantly just living within its own context of like you're doing things that are resilient for your context, and that you could actually pass a future on. Maybe that's kind of the implicitness, is that there is a future that you're trying to maintain. But it's interesting, the subtitle of this is The Downshifter's Guide to a Resilient Future. So this book assumes that energy descent is a reality that will happen, which is to say not energy depletion. I think that's so much conversation surrounding energy and climate change suggests that it has to necessarily be a catastrophe for everybody all at once. Whereas, like, yeah, this book Bolo Bolo, this book Desert, this book Retro Suburbia, they're all suggesting that it's not going to happen the same way in every place. Some places actually might even have more opportunities in this future, depending on how resources kind of open up. Specifically, the global north, where it's like pretty cold already.
Canada.
Yep. Already looking into how do we get more oil out there, you know?
Yep.
And then, and then pretty much the global south, equatorial areas, it's just going to be less desirable. But I think people will still be living there. There's going to be some anarchists who are going to be like, yeah, dude, free, like, state is gone or whatever. Like, we need to go out there, I mean, and like,
dude,
do our own thing.
I mean, there's shit like Slab City.
Yeah.
That is kind of like the ruins of post-war America. And there are people who moved in. We have people that, squatters, like there is a type of person who kind of seeks out ruin. And of course there will be these people. And
yeah,
it briefly came up at the food place that one night.
Food hall.
Someone asked us what we thought the future of Phoenix looks like, and then it came up again the next night at Dave's house. And you were like someone, like, might have been Elton, like, asked you about what you think the future of Arizona looks like.
Oh yeah.
And you responded with, and I agree with your response, was like it's good. There will be like a high tech enclave, surrounded by climate refugees, by something that approaches like Bedouin. Like, I've been to Iraq. I've seen Bedouin. I've seen like these migratory peoples who, that's their way of life. They migrate.
And we're a border state. Yeah. So we already have migration.
That's already a thing here. Like, there already are people who live so similarly to gypsies or Bedouin or whatever, and they do it here, and they pick fucking celery. And that shit sucks.
Or they work like under the table dollar exchange kind of jobs.
But yeah, just because like Phoenix is collapsing doesn't mean that there will be no human in the rubble. I think there definitely will be people who live in the rubble, and Phoenix is just the the example that's present at hand. We also have like all of Mexico is probably done. I think Mexico City will persist. it'll be like badly like fucking hollowed out. But there's 25 million people there now.
A lot.
Yeah. Fucking shit. Mexico City's one of the biggest fucking cities in the world.
Yeah.
25 million people. But it's being gentrified to hell and back right now. But places like Iraq, places like Saudi Arabia is building the line. Have you seen any yet? Neom? Some dumb bullshit. You should look it up on YouTube. It's fucking stupid. It's propaganda. But people are excited about it and talking about it like it's real and like it's really going to happen. Like Saudi Arabia is going to build the high-tech future utopian city. They're not. They're just going to use fucking Yemeni slaves to churn, to generate billions of dollars for some construction magnates. And nothing's actually going to be built. They're just like, that is like an industry over there. Just like they had the World Cup, like they had all the fucking essentially slaves or indentured servants or whatever you want to call it, but they had all these migrant slaves building all this infrastructure. That's why people don't like the Olympics, because it's like they uproot a lot of people. They have a lot of migrant workers and they do so much damage to the community for this like quick turnaround event. And then they leave and the infrastructure just rots. And so whatever was there before that new construction was destroyed for the new construction, and the new construction gets destroyed because they can't afford to maintain it or upkeep it. And so it's just like dropping a shit bomb on a city every time the Olympics comes through. And they're going to wind up doing the same thing in Saudi Arabia across the entire fucking Arabian Peninsula with just bullshit construction projects so someone can make a quick $1 billion, but nothing's actually going to happen. But the world's ending. The world's fucking ending.
Maybe. That's the thing is, this book kind of convinced me that some worlds will end. Ooh. But it really is like it really is going to be a thing of like even climate change won't be enough to kill something like capitalism.
Oh, for sure.
But it also won't be enough to kill all the humans.
For sure.
That's the thing is, maybe I just have a problem with the catastrophe narrative where it has to be an all or nothing.
Yep.
Whereas I think the world is very complex, and to hold that complexity, I think is important, because then it also means some places in the world might start to have to be isolated again the way that they were kind of pre-globalization.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, what does that mean, right? Like, how does that, if we were to think of like a place like Phoenix, we're going to have different problems than a place like
Vancouver,
exactly, right? Or even like in the middle of nowhere,
San Francisco, or in the Bozeman, Montana.
Exactly, like a smaller place, like, and so it's. I think also what this book was showing me is that, be aware that terrible things will take place, but also, at least this is being addressed to anarchists, of there are opportunities that open up for anarchists to then intervene in places maybe where they hadn't really been able to, like.
Give me an example. That sounds interesting.
Well, the more obvious example from this is he's talking about like going to places where you're more like destroy kind of anarchist, smashy kind, will have more opportunity to like do that.
Okay.
To be involved in smashy. And where it is a little bit more of like gang oriented kind of living. Like if you wanted to like get Nazis out of your town, you could actually do that.
Go get them.
And like not have repercussions of like, now you're blacklisted and like your face is recognized. that stuff still might be around, like surveillance technology.
For sure.
But there just might be less state presence in places that are just not profitable anymore. And so it allows people who decide to stay there to maybe have a little bit more say in how that place now can live. But it's a lot more contention on a human level, less contention on a economic or state level.
So that sounds honestly like a right-wing libertarian Wonderland. Like that's like, to me that sounds like Curtis Yarvin would love that. And I don't know if Curtis Yarvin is a right-wing libertarian when he's, I don't know what he is, but like, but no, like that smells like American libertarians to me. Or the dumbasses that call themselves ANCAPs, where they're like, well, like
which I have like not as much familiarity with like that kind of stance of anarchist capitalist, right?
Well, it's not real.
Okay.
It doesn't exist. But and like, because capital relies on the state to legitimate it, so without the state there would be no capital. So there's no such thing as like a stateless capitalism. Now we can still have systems of exchange and value in an anarchist society, but you would assume that would be like mutually agreed upon, and it would be kind of enforced as like in situ enforced, like it would be enforced by the community itself. Like the community that's subject to the law is also the community that's enforcing the law. And so it's more anarchist than, authoritarian or whatever. But the ANCAP position is just silly and it's not real. But I understand why people go there, because there is currently an invisible hand in the markets. Now, currently, our invisible hand has a congenital defect where it only wants to lift up certain small numbers of people. It doesn't actually adjust the market according to like what's worthy and what's valuable and what's meritorious and what deserves to be lifted up.
Well, it's not human oriented.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's value oriented. But I mean, I definitely understand why people flock to American libertarianism. Like I just said, it's stupid. You guys are stupid, retarded, idiot dorks or whatever. I take it back. I don't mean that. I understand. I empathize with you guys that hold that position. I'm here to tell you it doesn't work. It wouldn't work that way. Yeah. If there's value, if there's merit in an area, there will be a structure that exploits that. And there will be human communities that spring up around those structures, because we still don't have robots. So we still need human labor power. We can problematize human labor power and the labor theory of value. And trust me, I've spent a lot of time doing so. And I am more of a value form guy than a labor theory of value guy. But it is also the case that currently human labor is a source of value. And if we can replace the human labor with robot labor, cool. But until we do, there will be structures that crop up where there's value, where there's resources to exchange or resources to convert to create value. There will be structures that pop up. Those structures will use humans. So there will be human communities that pop up, and there will be force, and there will be conflict, and there will be authority, and there will be ways to like legitimate that authority. That's just going to happen. It's all going to post hoc happen. And the thing that drew me to anarchism, and that still calls to me, like there's still like a huge call, is like this Rousseauian, like people are cool, and we can just be cool to each other. And when left to our own devices, we will be cool to each other.
Yeah. And
I think for the most part, that can be true. I don't think it's necessarily true. I also understand this more Hobbesian point of like, where it is a war of all against all. Like I understand that too. And so
that has to always remain in the conversation when we talk about, if we have the ideal of we can be cool to each other. Yeah. We know we are also afraid of each other.
Yeah, we can also be fucked up to each other, which Levi-Nas, I think anarchists should read Levi-Nas. but they should do like a more robust reading. Dave warns people of becoming the doormat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a valid warning. I think you should listen to Dave. And I think without Dave setting up that signpost for me, I probably would have fallen into the same doormat position. But Levinas is not about becoming a bitch. It really is about...
it's almost being like courageous enough
for sure
to say, I'm gonna go against my inclination for war.
For sure.
That's how he says it in the preface. I think it's like war naturally limits our options to only one way.
It disallows, it precludes, it forecloses this human Congress. It stands in the way of it. It puts us in this Hobbesian state of war against war, or war of all against all. And that's where we are now. And we can have these kind of highfalutin Levinasian ideals, and I think we should allow those ideals to guide us. But we should also not start to think that those ideals are operative or operable in the world today. We need to change the fucking world today. But I'm also not trying to change the world today. I'm trying to understand the world today. I'm not ready. We're not ready to change the world. If we, all the awesome people who I love and I've just spent so much time with and I'm having all these conversations with and that I'm getting so much out of, and if all of us came together and changed the world, it would still be a fucked up place. Because we're all still trying to get out of this structural stultification. We're all still trying to develop fully. So before we even talk about solutions, we need to build ourselves into the type of people, who could have valid solutions.
Or I think I would say concurrently with, because we're never going to be ready.
No. You're right.
It's like we have multiple things going at the same time.
Yep, for sure.
And
currents and trends.
They're helping each other. Yeah. Which actually, regarding this book, Bolo, it's funny because it has like different parts to it. It's basically trying to lay out what could a global world look like if we wanted to change it. If we didn't want as they say, the planetary work machine. And so some of the tactics are you're like sabotaging the current world while at the same time trying to, I think, do something like build institutions or build practices.
Dual power.
Yeah. So you're decreasing the power of this world while trying to increase the power of the new world.
Yeah.
So that way it's not like okay, after the revolution, we'll get around to building stuff.
Yeah, it's like we're working for the future. Prefigurative politics, right? Like we're working to bring about the world that we want by working to create the world that we want, rather than just working to destroy the world that we currently have. You have to destroy the world that we currently have in order to have a new one, but you also have to build the new one.
Yeah.
And if you allow a gap between the two, then you're fucked. Then it's full regression.
Something else will take its place.
Something worse will take its place. So yeah, building dual power concurrently with seeking revolution, I think is necessary. But even that I'm skeptical of. But because I mean there's limits. Just like Evan tells us there's limits to global capital, which we can problematize. There's also limits to mutual aid and dual power. Like there's limits to that as well. And
yeah, I feel like I should say I haven't been convinced that anarchism could work as a universalist project. I honestly think it's for those people for who it resonates.
Yeah.
But that's not most of the world.
Not everybody, dude. Yeah.
In fact, we are small. if we identify ourselves as anarchist.
And it's a radical responsibility, rights and responsibilities. Stirner's fucking dope. I don't know if you like Stirner, but I like Stirner.
I haven't gone around to Sterner, my Sterner book yet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think a lot of people take Sterner in the wrong direction, and I'm definitely not a Sterner expert. But
he became a meme
yeah,
pretty quickly.
Yeah, but my Sterner is different because my Sterner talks about like, you know, personal responsibility, and I'm really into radical responsibility. I'm less concerned with egoism and individualism. Like I still want some type of communitarianism, or some type of collectivity, but you have to understand that this collective is constituted of individuals, and the individuals have to be responsible and powerful and efficacious. So it is more about responsibility and stewardship and blah blah blah. But I think most people who are into Sterner just like edgy memes. I think everybody mostly just like. I think I do too. Probably everything I do is just I'm trying to be edgy.
Edgy memes.
And some it's all bullshit, dude.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to bring up a thing about this book, Bolo Bolo, where its proposal for a new world, a new sci-fi world, is that instead of like specific cities or states, things that have like been set up not necessarily with anybody's intention in mind, like, or they kind of take on a life of their own. Instead, you have these things called bolos, and they're roughly a population of 500 people, give or take, because, you know, that's kind of set as like the amount of people you can recognize within your little...
Like your extended Dunbar number.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know everyone's name, but you know that they are a part of your bolo. But the interesting thing is that the book is proposing everyone gets to choose their bolo according to how they want to live their life, like how they want to have a shared life with those other people in their bolo. And so he gives a bunch of examples. He's like, we could have a bunch of the following: Alcobolo, Simbolo, Lesbolo, Sadobolo, Massobolo, Marxbolo, Anarchobolo, Marbolo. Just as like examples of, if you have, what if it was like a theory underground bolo? Like enough people were like, I want to do this with my life.
Yeah.
And so if we can orient this bolo to only be about like, yeah, this stuff of like, we want to study theory, then you structure your actual city, well, your bolo that way to always reinforce that value, that share.
Yeah.
And people have the option of leaving bolos if they want to. There's almost like a nomadicism that's allowed in this new world too, where you have to accept guests up to a certain like extent, and like they have to be cool, otherwise like you're allowed to like kick them out. So it's I just want to get your thoughts of like, what does that kind of spark in your head of shared having if we could actually create new territories and you could share it according to values, what does that make you think of?
I think again, I think you said it. I think that's fantastic for the people who are like predisposed to that. But I think even that like universally wouldn't work, because I mean there are always going to be people who are just fucked up and do fucked up shit. I mean, regardless, I think we have to be willing to accept that, and maybe in the future we'll not have that problem. But as it stands right now, and I think for the foreseeable future, even if we solved all the structural problems, there would still be fucked up people doing fucked up things.
It does take into account there are like Viking type people in this new world who just want to like come
fuck
and
shit up.
I'm not sure if it actually gives a strong reason why that wouldn't eventually
I mean, I think
be a downfall. I think it's assuming that this new world is it's going to be hard to to hoard resources.
Yeah. No, and I think yeah, like without certain structures like states that legitimate hordes, I think it would be hard. But I also think those things were innovated in history.
Yeah.
Like there was a point in history where states were innovated. There was a point in history when hordes had to forge their own legitimation. And like now, you know, we're living in the wake of history, but I don't see why it wouldn't happen again.
Yeah.
I know that I am too idealistic when I think like, oh, if we solve all the world's problems, then people will heal themselves. I think that largely. And I know that that is incongruent with reality. I know that's not the world we live in. That's the world in my head. And so I have to like be able to say, yeah, I want that to be true, but I know it's not true. But I think allowing for a plurality, I think maybe maybe we have to accept the fact that we'll never succeed in like universal emancipation. Maybe we just have to accept the fact like we're not free until we're all free. This is my standpoint. Maybe we'll never all be free. So maybe none of us will ever to be free. And maybe that's true. And maybe
it hasn't been proven in history yet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. I think new social and political technologies are necessary because I do think like change is a coming, whether we like it or not. Climate change is going to drastically affect government, politics, social organizations, social coordination. Like it's going to happen. So I think it's necessary. I just think I hope I die before it matters to me, legitimately.
Yeah, I think we'll only start to see like the drasticness of it by the end of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I have to take up a position of let someone else worry about it. I'm not the one who can worry about it. I am the one who right now is doing this critical media theory experiment and working on new ways of organizing and new ways of study and research and new ways of articulation and new ways of kind of situatedness. Like that's what I'm doing. I found myself here and this is the project that I'm swept up in. And I think that's pretty fucking radical. And I think that has to satisfy the.
We're not doing anything radical here.
We're not. It's not radical. Other than a radical humanism. Somebody was talking shit about me last night. I was saying I'm a humanist. Oh, you're an imperialist.
Ooh.
Fuck you, dude. What does humanism mean? I don't know. But I think that's it. Like
maybe you're for the human.
I'm for the human.
And we're trying to figure out.
I'm trying to figure out what that means.
Yeah.
That is my position.
Yeah.
Genuinely. And that's it. And that is kind of satisfying the little radical inside my head who's saying the world's on fire, the sky is falling, do something, do something, do something. I'm doing something.
Yeah.
And I do believe that if we can succeed and if we can kind of create structures and frameworks and technologies for people to more further develop, maybe not fully develop, but like become better subjects, become more like enriched subjects, political subjects and split subjects and like just in general, like if we can provide a richer milieu for our children to grow up in and their children and like the future humans to have a better chance, yeah, I think that's all that can be done right now. And I think it is important for people to be talking about and experimenting with social and political technologies, but I don't have the bandwidth for it anymore. And I used to really like to think about it, but it just, I think it's impossible right now. So I want to work to try to see if we can make a world where it becomes possible. But also, that's probably bullshit. Like, that's probably like a bullshit line that I'm saying to like wash myself of the culpability. There probably is something more that I could be doing. Probably. Definitely. Not even probably. There's 100% more I could be doing. And I'm just too lazy, dude. I don't know. I get really bummed out when it comes to like these questions, because I do think we're fucked. And I think all we can do is like shock the system and then create new structures and kind of create a foundation for the future. Because the future right now is in free fall, and we are stealing from the future to kind of fuel the fire that's running the engine of today. All this consumption, all this waste, all this death, and I think this experimenting with education and coordination, I think, is a project that is worthwhile and efficacious, and that I'm suited to. I think.
I mean, yeah, maybe not the only, but what I've kind of come to as a possible thing to do is not to focus on the world at large.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I think as we kind of, as multiple of us keep suggesting, there's not really anything that we can do about it.
Yeah.
But I guess the thing that I feel still positive about with the future is something like what's laid out in this book, Retro Suburbia.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, it's just like a bunch of happy people riding bikes.
I resent them.
This is an Australian book, so definitely a different context, right?
Yeah.
But this guy, he identifies himself as an anarchist, oddly enough, which a lot of permaculture people don't really like, because permacultures can come off as like the old white lady retired who wants to like have a really extensive garden. But this guy, he's kind of just suggesting like kind of focus on like what you could do in your home, not first and foremost, but like that's kind of like your starting point. It's like, think about what you do in your life, how you work with your family, and then how maybe you could even like work with other households who are doing kind of similar things. I don't know, just honestly, like, does anyone, is there a bad thing about people starting gardens in their backyards? I feel like it seems like such a small, insignificant thing, but I feel like it actually just brings some kind of peace to people, and it's like, yeah, as a like an action towards the larger like global motions that are happening, it is insignificant.
Yeah.
But
if 9 billion people did it, then it wouldn't be insignificant.
Yeah. That, but also like maybe it's something like kind of coming back to like what are the human scale problems we can actually work on as well. I guess that's something I've taken away from learning about a bunch of anarchist stuff is I enjoy the anarchists who embrace the human scale part of living as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's for me what was so hard with anarchism is that it was always global. I mean, the same thing with communism, like proper communism, proper anarchism.
That's
like
just hard.
It's always global. You always have to. Well, and they say think globally, act locally, but like it's like this is impossible. I can't. Maybe I'm fucking lazy, stupid, selfish, whatever, deficient. Maybe that's true. But either way, I can't. I just don't have the energy to do this anymore. I can't care about everything anymore. I can't care about the global south and the inner city. And like my head's going to explode.
Yeah.
So doing this kind of returned to like the immediate world around you and trying to make the immediate world around you a better place, I think is the virtuous choice for the anarchist.
Live locally, theorize
for sure,
universally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think it always just gets jumbled up and it always winds up failing. But also there are people who, Dave's mom is a fucking amazing farmer. Like she's doing amazing dope shit where like she's taking ownership of the land and really doing permaculture.
Yeah.
But like, I'm sure there are people who would recognize that as some weird, stupid reactionary project or like, and it's just insane that like when you do reduce from like the global fucking action to the personal, and you're like, well, I can't change that, so I'm gonna work on this, and you start to act individually. People accuse you of being like a reactionary because you're worrying about what you can change.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if we all worried about what we could change, then I'm all in for anarchism.
Yeah.
But fucking anarchists can't figure it out, dude.
Well, we had to remember the split subject of humans.
There we go. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And the Hobbesian part of humans.
Yeah.
And if we forget that, then we're always going to be like, why can't people be better?
Yeah, for sure. Fucking stupid bitch ass people, dude. Hate you guys.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a project of compassion. I mean, for me is trying to do what I can for my life, my immediate surroundings, trying to remain always challenging myself to a compassion towards other people's contexts, seeing like what they could do in their own daily life, and then theorizing things that are happening on larger scales, because well, one, it's fun.
Yeah,
we get our jouissance,
man. We get our rocks off on this shit.
Yeah, but also there is something about thinking that big feeds back into our own little slice of the pie of our lives.
For sure.
Did you want to bring up another your own anarchist? How you came to that stuff and where you stand now? Because I think I've heard you say that you weren't an anarchist, and then now you're saying like, but I still have like this anarchist thing.
I think I am an anarchist. Like, I think I've always been an anarchist, but I think I'm the only true anarchist. And I think maybe every anarchist thinks they're the only true anarchist. Or maybe every older anarchist thinks that. I think maybe younger anarchists think that, well, people are basically good, so we can all do this and figure it out. And then I think once you become older, you come into contact with the split nature of the human, and you realize, no, if only everybody thought the way I think, then all the problems would be solved. But of course it wouldn't. If everybody thought the way I think, we would all have killed each other by now. Like fucking, I would hate to be stuck in a room with me. for as long as you've been stuck in a room with me today.
9 billion dances.
Yeah, I couldn't. There's 3 billion of them here on YouTube. I couldn't stand another 6 billion more, but no, I think for me it like coming out of the punk rock scene, bands like Propagandhi, finding Kropotkin, Proudhon, and Bakunin before finding Marx, like finding Marx by way of Proudhon, poverty philosophy, the philosophy of poverty, like yeah, I think I was just like a herding child who was in a free fall, and I found anarchism as a kid, and it comforted me, but it also made me believe that there was more than the shitty world I was living in. And I think anarchism got me through my teenage years. And then I got a little older. I had kids. I became a father at 16, which that got me through my late teens and my early 20s. And then economically, I had to make a lot of tough choices, and I had to kind of give up on young idealist Nance. Right? There was a young idealist Nance who thought he was powerful and thought he could change the world. But you know, seeing my at the time wife and children hungry, and you know, needing a house, like that immediate problem was more important than children in Africa, than the global South. It was. And I think it's insane that a lot of young anarchists become gross and start to like accuse people of being like reactionaries and fascists and shit when all they're trying to do is feed their children. But I had to kind of like sever ties, and it's fucked up because when we were talking to Doug Lane, I told him like he was talking about the millennial left, and I was like, don't talk for me. Like I was maybe a millennial leftist, right? And I did protest Iraq, and then I went and fought in Iraq because the poverty draft is real, and that was my only option, was to sign up to go shoot at young idealistic teenagers in Iraq. That's who we were fucking fighting. Teenagers. Me. I was fighting me. You know? The tables have turned, right? I was a disgruntled idealistic teen in America, and I went to Iraq and, you know, was confronted with young disgruntled idealistic teens over there who were taken advantage of by grifters, older fucking assholes who thought they were revolutionaries. And all that shit did come out of a liberation movement, right? The Cold War. I mean, like,
that's also the scary thing about universalism is, I mean, it's a little bit of a shoehorn for a lot of people,
dude. But yeah, I mean, I gave up on everything. But you know, I got out of the army and life, blah 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 blah. Thought of myself as a trot essentially for a while. I found my way to Posadism. And I think I am a Posadist. I think I'm still some kind of anarchist. And I think maybe that's unintelligible. Maybe that's incongruent. I don't think so. I think the Posadists were, which is an evolution of basically trots.
Okay.
Like but yeah, I don't know. I guess I just reached a point where, like, my struggles individuated me to the point where I had to like give up on everything. And so I still thought, or I was still kind of maintaining like, oh, I'm going to be able to read theory and I'm going to be able to be the smart understander guy. And I'm really into philosophy and I'm really into deconstruction and I'm really into this and that. And I think, you know, maybe I can do something cool or worthwhile or whatever. And I really do think pouring myself into parenting was a good thing. Like, I think my kids are dope, and I think they would be less dope had I not gone about parenting the way I went about parenting. And obviously, I made huge mistakes.
Which parent doesn't?
For sure. But no, it you know, and then again, within the last few years, I guess I'm finally like reawakening from the stupor of work.
Yeah.
And attempting to re-engage in global thinking, maybe. But I've got a lot more experience and a lot more understanding and a lot more poise and a lot more patience. So I do still think like, yeah, I think I am some kind of anarchist. But I would have 14 hours worth of caveats and qualifiers.
Yeah.
So it's not worth saying that.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing about saying a position of like, I am this, because then really you only get to it when you have a conversation with someone about like, oh, okay, so this is what that term means to you that you're identifying with.
What does it mean to you? It doesn't matter what it means to me. Like if I'm trying to explain something to you, it doesn't matter what I mean. It matters what you understand.
Yeah.
And that's a problem endemic to language itself, but the medium accelerates it. So
and also identifying yourself with
doing this exact one-to-one identification. But we do that because there's not this space for understanding, and we are forced to live as if we are commodities, because in fact we are just commodities, because capital is determining our possibilities. Capital is determining our field of possibilities, and the state, and but capital is the fucking problem. You do need to read Marx, but maybe you don't need to. Well, shut the fuck up. Anyway, we behave as commodities because commodities have to be this kind of one-to-one direct identification. It has to be intelligible and understandable and exchangeable. And I can't exchange a negativity with you. I can't exchange uncertainty. It has to be certain for it to be exchanged. And because we have to act as if we are commodities, because guess what? We are commodities until we open up space by creating robust, resilient, long-lasting relationships where we can incorporate negativity. We can incorporate a lack of understanding. We can incorporate nuance and complexity, and we can incorporate future projections, and we can even incorporate our histories. Because if I have some kind of bad habit from the past, like from my habitus, from my lived experience, but we still both have to do work to incorporate that. Like if there's someone who does something that rubs you wrong or you don't like or annoys you or whatever, but you nevertheless manage to have like a constructive relationship, you're giving them grace. And you're forgiving them their past, and hopefully you're creating a space where they can unlearn the behavior, but they can't do that in this world where everything is this direct one-to-one commodity. You're just like, fuck that guy sucks, I don't have time for that guy. And it's unfortunate. There are a lot of times where we just don't have time for that guy, and if you've been that guy, sorry dude, I've been that guy before many times, and I will be that guy in the future. But it really is about creating spaces for these negativities to unfold, because that's what humans are. We are a negativity. That's why I say I'm a humanist, because the human question to me is a negativity. There isn't a satisfactory answer. That's my negativity. That's my space. That's the tension I'm holding, and that's the project I'm working on. And I think it goes hand in hand with social coordination, value coordination, exchange, social technologies, political technologies, all the things that we're doing, and all the things in these books. Like I think all those political and social technologies in those books are predicated on a robust humanity. Yeah. And we're not there yet. So. But again,
a robust humanity. Or sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but again, that's also probably all bullshit. Like that's probably all just a slick line that I came up with to justify my own inability to change the world. Because at the end of the day, I do want to change the world. Because the world is broken.
I don't think it's up for a human though to do that. I don't think we need to give ourselves that kind of grounding to change the world.
Because we can't.
Yeah. So, which, I mean, I think ultimately that makes me, in some ways, something kind of apolitical.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think about politics.
Well, like
do politics.
apolitical on the global scale.
For sure.
I think a lot more about what are politics in my immediate
this is important
bolo number of like the 500 people that I probably could actually affect in my lifetime.
That's important, man. And I'll be honest with you, that's something that I lack there. I'm probably not going to vote this year. It's just too hard. It's too hard for me.
Yeah. I gave my ballot to my dad.
Oh no, we're fucked. Voter fraud. No, I mean, I actually just posted a note on Substack today. I was like, I was gonna vote. I was committed to down ballot, but then they kept calling me and they kept texting me and they kept emailing me. They even came to my door. Yeah. And because I'm a petty bitch, now I'm not even gonna vote down ballot, but I probably will. Congress, Gallego, like I probably will, but I'm definitely not going to vote for president. Fuck that. But the local is important.
Yeah. So it's like where you might actually be able to like do something. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even think voting is only one method of all these other methods we could use for politics in our, I call it like daily life world. Yeah, it's like the people
daily life world. Hell yeah.
Like the people you actually see like at the store or whatever, or like the people in your neighborhood, you don't know their name, but you know that they live close to you. There's ways that we could actually do things where it might make their life just a little bit better. Maybe a little bit less stultifying. But it takes the theorizing to know what are those ways we might be able to do that? Where does it seem like there's a lot of contingencies with being able to do that, right? So it's really just being open to questioning ourselves and our influence. Not feeling like we got it. Yeah. We know the answer.
There are no answers.
Sometimes it feels like we're throwing spaghetti noodles at the wall.
I think largely that's it. That's been it for the history of politics. I think it's all bullshit. But I think people have made valiant efforts. Yeah. But it was.
I like the Studebaker thing of the non-reformist reform.
I love it. Yeah, that's the only.
It's like, ooh, okay, I could see your point there.
Dude, that's the only motherfucker I want to talk to you about politics is Benjamin fucking Studebaker. Yeah, because I can get behind non-reformist reforms because it does impact, like it does actually impact what's going on in the world around you. If your neighbors are less retarded because they have access to education and healthcare, then they could probably make better choices. I can get behind that.
Dude, that's we kind of cornered Studebaker in the kitchen like one night, like me and Sean, and Sean brought up, he's like, I want you to just go off on telling me about Plato's idea of democracy. Yeah, dude. And like he would have probably kept us there longer than an hour if it wasn't, or we were just like tired. But he was bringing up this point of like Plato's idea of democracy or like politics is almost as a little bit of like a libidinal economy thing where Plato thinks that your political players, your political like citizens in your government, in your world, they should know the difference between like something like necessary virtues and like unnecessary virtues. I'm not sure if it was virtues, but basically kind of knowing like what are the good pleasures of like the things to cultivate yourself, of to be more educated, to do time, energy stuff. And then what are those that we tend towards naturally as humans, where we can be greedy if we just only want to think about business, or or like we only want to like enjoy pleasure in like that traditional like hedonist way.
Yeah, dude.
And it's like, oh, even Plato, well, Benjamin was kind of illuminating for us that even Plato kind of has his criticisms of democracy, but in a way where it is maybe tying into like, because it doesn't cultivate the individual enough.
Well, and that like his shit with like if you have contact with the market, then you can't participate in politics.
Yeah, because you think about market stuff too much.
Homo economicus is retarded.
Yeah.
Market logic breaks your brain and breaks your understanding of humanity itself.
At least what Plato thinks, yeah.
I think it too. But yeah, Studebaker's dope, dude.
Yeah.
He's great. And yeah, I think him talking about the good is maybe what started my long, slow descent back into humanism. Like him positing the notion of the good.
Descent.
Yeah. I mean, apparently, like, people fucking talking shit about it. Like, fuck you people, dude. I don't know why it pisses people off so much that I want to say I'm a humanist. I mean, I think I also...
Well, like, I guess there is that tradition of humanism.
That's bullshit.
And then...
fuck you, I'm taking the word back.
The human. Yeah. So, but I don't know enough about, like...
Yeah. I fully get it, man. And the reason for me it's a thing is because I was that guy. And I was like, yeah, human is actually a fucked up word and we shouldn't use human. And I'm an anti-humanist. I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a this, I'm a that. Whatever, dude. Fuck you guys. Give it the program. Read a book. Sorry, I'm not trying to be mean.
You're just free associating.
I'm free associating, yeah. We're all idiots. I'm just as big an idiot. I'm probably bigger than the fake idiot in my head that I'm yelling at when I start to go off and tell people fuck you. That's a fake person, and it's probably a projection of myself. Because I mean I was. And a lot of the time I am railing against my younger self. And like wishing I could go back in time and grab the younger version of me, smack me, and say, you're a fucking idiot.
I've had this idea. I don't know if it's a essay or if it's a panel discussion or whatever form it to draw out its the stories, but something like I almost want us to do like a theorizing of letters to young people, or like letters to younger self.
That'd be sick.
Something like that, because it's like, I don't know. I think there's something that you kind of like want to communicate to like a younger self.
Yeah, dude.
You know? And realizing that sometimes there are like younger, like how I've been influenced by people who are just doing their own projects like podcasts or books or whatever, and they have never met me. I will never meet them. But because they were talking about, this is what my younger self, I'm sensitive to my younger self when I'm talking from this position, that you take that as someone who's young and is like, oh, okay, like maybe that's kind of like how I want to be when I'm older, is like be like that, or like have that lesson. I don't know. I think it's just also an interesting exercise to share something. If you could share something with that part of you that was younger.
Oh yeah. I would say buy Bitcoin. I would say do less drugs. Take better care of yourself.
Yeah.
And you are not the smartest person in the world. And also, I would give that guy a hug and say, it'll be okay. And on that note, I think that's a pretty good wrap up. I think I might take this last hour and a half or so and just publish it as a standalone video.
Clip it.
Because I like it a lot.
Anarchism and why it won't work. Parentheses.
But also
we still like it.
we still like it. Dave just published why I'm not a leftist or some shit. I should publish why I'm still an anarchist with Cesar. Why we're still anarchists and fuck you.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't think I ever really like sipped the Kool-Aid enough or like drank the Kool-Aid enough to say I am anarchist.
Word.
But I've been sipping from that like punch bowl for so long that someone looking from across the room is like, I don't think you're microdosing anymore.
Yeah. I think you're fucking frying balls.
But it's always like sips. It's like, and then I take a break, you know?
The principle.
I never go full dose.
Yeah.
And then when it kind of wears off again, a little bit of sip again.
The principled anarchist. we should write a book called The Principled Anarchist, and it would be letters to our younger selves.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I think that's a good spot. And I do think this last hour and a half on anarchism will probably be a separate video from the TUCON. But I mean, it'll all stay up in one piece for the VOD if anybody wants to go back through and watch the whole thing. I think it was good. So sorry, thank you for joining me. We'll meet up and do more. We'll do more Levinas readings. We'll talk more about projects and all that stuff. And hopefully for next TUCON, we can like do it up big style, something. I don't know. Go up together, and I don't know. This first TUCON was dope. But we also learned a lot of lessons. Yeah. And you were a part of that, and thank you for being a part of that. I'm excited for the next one, and I'm excited for all the other shit we got going on. So is there anything else you want to fucking say to the YouTube before we bail?
Other theorists, I'm coming for you. I'm coming to your town.
Coming to a city near you.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. All right, peace out. Peace the fuck out, YouTube. Hold on. Should I make a little... Peace out, motherfucker. Hold on, let's make a funny voice.
Fuck yeah.